think we're all settled here. We have a little bit of a different setup. I know it might not be incredibly obvious to see, but we do have a bit of a different setup here now. Things have changed since I was last on behind the camera. I'm trying to get the shirt pulled down. Jeez. Alright, let me get ranged here. Can't see entirely. Things have moved around. So starting off, welcome if you've not been to one of these streams before. This is a Cozy Gamer stream. Being if I wanted a sweatshirt, I couldn't decide. I might go get one. I'm not sure yet, but anyway. Put this here so I can see. Yeah. So, we're here tonight. I'm gonna do a little crocheting in a minute here, but just a couple updates. We had a bunch of snow days here. Again, we're in North Carolina, so you know, be 3 different seasons in the course of like a day. But we had a lot of snow here for a couple days. So again, we got like a couple days off of school, which was nice because then we, you know, got a little bit more time to prep our carpet. But like right before it got like really snowy, we went in and got these. Oh hey, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Good to see you again. But we got in just before the, I don't know how obvious this is because like, you know, I've already filled it with junk, but like we got like a new like chair here, so like I can like put my arms on top of it and everything like that. It's like, it's a nice curve. It has a good place for my, you can't see, but like it has a great place for my feet now. I have a proper like leg rest. But like we went out and there was like this one chair we've been looking at for a while that I'm like, I love this chair. This will work perfectly for my stream area. And so we like waited on it, and then we went in to Costco to get like, I don't know, so I had some new medication I need to pick up. And the chair was there, like the last one left, and it was like $100 off. And like, okay, that isn't a sign, I don't know what is. Clearly we need to own this chair. So we had to go back, get our bigger car to get like, you know, to fit the chair in. And by that point it had gone from snow to freezing rain, so, you know, a lot more hazardous to drive in. But we went, we got the chair, we got it back, and we set up like that day. And it is just infinitely more comfortable to stream on just because I have a little bit more room. Obviously I can put a lot more plush things on it. And I have a proper leg rest now. Before I was sitting essentially on a beanbag for my leg rest. So, you know, my legs just got sore after a while, and also just got padded down after a while, so I'm glad I got a better chair now. So we got a couple new setup things, like, you know, I got a couple new plushes. I got this one from, like, Cracker Barrel. But also I got, like, a new order of some Pokemon ones in, so we're gonna just do a little bit of that. So, like, I got a couple, like, I just wanted to get, like, one big item, which I'm gonna show in a minute, but then I had to get some, I wanted to get some smaller items with it. So, like, I got, like, this little Nidoran. It's a sitting cutie plush. I really like the same cutie lion because they, you know, they fit in your hand, and I love hand size thing, but some of them have gone really expensive. Like, normally they're $12. Some of the bigger ones were, like, you know, $13 or $14. Now some of the rerun ones are like $18. I'm like, for this big, that's ridiculous. But this one was $10, so that's why I got it. But it's a Nidoran. I got a soft spot for Nidoran. I've raised one a couple of times in some Nuzlocke runs. And, you know, I had a, I knew pretty well, one as a character in the P&D group, so I have that there. And then the other one I got of the small ones was, I got Rotom Wash, which, you know, is Rotom that's possessed the washing machine, which I think all the Rotom forms are funny, but I especially like Rotom Wash just because this is the one that's, like, competitively viable because of water electric type. For whatever reason, is incredibly good, and it's a good, like, it's surprising how much Rotom Wash was, like, you know, like a staple. Now I believe it's Rotom Heat, which is the one that possesses a microwave that's been doing really well. But like, I want to get all the Rotom forms at some point, but I just decided to start with the washing machine because I thought he's kind of cool. He's a little washing machine, and, you know, he fits in my hand. So we got him there. Then they have this new set. I've showed before the comfy friends I have. These are supposed to be the cuddly friends. So again, another like kind of soft sensory things, and it does have a really nice like. It doesn't look like it on stream, but like it has this really nice like wool texture to it. It's really soft. But originally there was a Mary and a Flaffy, and they were both, like $24, and I was like, I didn't want to buy both of them. Because again, you never know how big a plush is going to be. Like, for instance, my, comfy friends I have. Some of them are like, you know, my one's like $35 and it's yay big and it's super fun. And it's super like plush and fluffy, so it's a worthwhile thing. But I'm like, you know, you never know if you're gonna get like something that's $25 and then it's gonna be like this size and you're like, oh well, because I didn't know, you know, like it'll be like it's 20 inches and you're like, actually no, it's like 20, it's maybe 16 inches long, it's not 20. So I'm like, I just got the Flaffy because you never see Flaffy merch. I actually want to make it. I was in the middle. My first con we did. We're gonna get to cons in a minute. I'm just, you know, gonna diverge a lot right from the bat. But my first con I did, I was working on an Ampharos snuggler, and I quit it because I started doing it, and I ended up with two vastly different sized feet. So I'm like, okay, clearly one of these I did really wrong. And so I put it off to the side. I'm going to complete it soon. I've forgotten, obviously. Since then, I've made a huge dragon. Since then, I've made a lot of other, like, more precise things. I'm a little more comfortable with crocheting now that I could do it again. I'm going to go back and finish it. But I'm like, instead of getting a Mary Reap, I got Flaffy because you don't see Flaffy a lot. And so instead of that, I got a cheaper one, which was Wooloo. Again, still super soft. Still big, poofy sheep. And I also have a soft spot for Wooloo, too, because when I did I think it was my Sword Nuzlocke, I decided for that challenge, instead of using one of the starter Pokemon, I was going to use whatever was the first encounter I caught on that route would be my starter Pokemon. And so my first encounter was a Wooloo, and her name was Cheryl, and she lasted until right before the Spike Muff gym. I remember she got killed, like, she made it, like, she was a double, she was actually, like, she was a, you know, because they have the fluffy ability. They're not necessarily anything competitive, but, you know, she was a good, like, kind of tanking Pokemon, and I think she got killed by, like, a counter or something like that. It was, like, counter from, like, a throw or an Obstagoon or something like that, like, something dumb like that. It was, like, you know, a fighting type move that, like, you know, just hit way harder than I expected to, and she died, and she's my starter, so I was sad about that, so I guess this is kind of an honor her. I kind of became more fun of Wooloo after that, so that's my, fuzzy ones I'm putting up here. I didn't take all the tags off, and I need to take all the tags off because they're all like getting stuck on their tags. So let me pull my tiny ones down. And the real big one I got here was, I got this Primal Kyogre. This is the one I really want because look at his little teeth. Look at those like feral little teeth he has going on there. I would my preference, obviously, Mallory talked about this at length before, how like me and Mallory, like, you know, we would try and split between the two Pokemon groups, be like, I got one game, she got the other one, and then we would trade between them. So she played Sapphire first, and I played Ruby, Oraz, and, you know, and stuff like that. And so my preference is Primal Groudon, but they didn't have a plush of him, but they did have a Primal Kyogre one, and I've been interested in seeing Malin play with her. Like, she has like the one Giratina origin form, and I would get an altered form Giratina, but that one was unfortunately out of stock. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get this one because it looks cool. It looks kind of, you know, big and detailed and stuff like that, and it wasn't even really that unreasonable of a price. So I got myself a Primal Kyogre, so he's in there. So what we're gonna be working on today, I'm gonna be making a Withered Chica at my convention I was at this weekend, which I guess I'll be recapping to some extent, unless, as usual, I get distracted and I start rambling off into another something or another. I will be going over essentially how the con went for that, because me and Malin, we were just at a market for the last 2 days. We went to something called BasherCon. It's actually what my t-shirt's from. I'm trying to see. I got a t-shirt from a BasherCon. And one of the people who was there asked me to make a Withered Chica for them, so I'm going to be working on a Withered Chica tonight. If I have time for something else, I also have some very nice, I brought some of my plush velvet yarn I've been wanting to work with again. That's the stuff that's, I made my Angel Guardian. He's just slightly off screen here. But did I send now that I'm speaking, did I send out my notification on Discord? I cannot remember. Okay, yeah. Let's see. I have to start. Sorry, I gotta answer my messages now. So I didn't realize everyone was mute. Normally I go put a message up on my thing and then like no one answers, so like I'm answering back on my chat. I was like the Malin got like a picture of me like when I looked like I was off to the side and looking very disinterested. That was also the night before. It was like 8 or 9 o'clock at night by the time we actually left, because we set up Friday the night before the convention started. And we went out at 6, and mind you, like to give a little preface, I'm in a graduate class right now. So I have like, writing assignments to do. So I had a writing assignment to do. I was outlining a, potential story I would write. It's teaching you how to be better at fiction. And I was writing it, and I thought it was going to take me a day. It ended up taking me like almost 2 days, like 2 straight days of writing. So I literally got off of writing, wanted to take a shower and stuff like that. And like, oh, we have to go set for our con. So we went at 6 and we walked out of there by 9, and we're like, oh my gosh, that took so long. So I'm guessing that's why I look angry in that picture. We're here now, say hi. Hi, Madeline. I see you. If you're here, I can't see where the thing is. I'm just looking at all my responses. Alright. Just start. I'm clearing off all my notifications. Anyway, so yeah, we did, and I'm gonna, I'll recap the con as we get started here. But yeah. You can see me holding my my little Rex Lapis plush. New stream setup reveal. Yeah, I was just going through that. I actually just finished showing off all my new Pokemon plushies, and we have new chair. It's kind of hard to tell because it's covered in stuff, but yeah, there's new chair here. Well, it says Pokemon and Chill, so it's Pokemon movie music, I assume. Maybe it might be from the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, because those do have that sort of vibes, but yeah, you can see me with my Rex Lapis there. Someone did buy them. I actually just, today I went and put, I've been meaning to, I know, right? I've been meaning to, put, detailing, so I went and put, toe detailing to make his feet a little bit more distinct, and I wanted to put geo symbols on his, arms and, legs, because that's a detail that's, on the character, so I wanted to put it somewhere on there, and it seemed easiest to put him, on, the shoulders. Because trying to do it on the body would just take forever, so I'm just gonna do it on the shoulders instead, because that'll be easier to do. Because I want to put something on there to be because some people be like, oh yeah, this is actually from Genshin Impact. I don't know what his dragon form looks like, but I'm gonna make an assumption that it's an Eastern Dragon. They're in the very obviously China region. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's probably gonna be an Eastern Dragon. So I was assuming probably has... I wasn't sure if it was gonna be horns or antlers, so I just decided to go for horns because antlers are so much harder to crochet. And I need to move the camera, it's a little bit off. I mean, you're welcome to come up and fix the camera if you want. I'm definitely not moving because I just sat down. And once I get settled in here, it's kind of hard to move again. So, yeah. It would make sense that the camera needs to be moved a little bit, though. I mean, we did have to move things around a little bit when we were setting things up initially. Because, again, we had to, in order to, put the new chair in, we had to, destroy the old chair setup. So, yeah. A lot of things had to be moved around in, like, dumb. But I really do like this. Like, I haven't used this chair to stream yet, but I've been playing, like... I also, because there was an event in Star Rail that, like, ended on, like, Sunday evening. So I was playing a lot of that event because I was like, you know, it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, I'll just play as far as I can get. And it's like, when you get to, like, rank 100, you get, like, a special prize. And I'm like, oh, I'll just get as high as I can. And then by, like, you know, Friday, I was, like, rank 90. I'm like, I could get to 100 if I do. I know I have a con, but I'm like, as soon as I came home on Sunday, I was like, first of all, I needed to relax, but also I was like, I played like 6 rounds and like the Divergent Universe mode just to be like, I'm gonna get to rank 100. I can do it. I know I can. And it was worth it because then I got a little, besides the fact that it gave me like a lot of currency, like I got a couple thousand currency. I'm gonna pull on that in the next character drop. Like, there's rumors that Dr. Ratio is going to be rerunning soon, so I'm getting another version of him. And I'll probably start my new game around that time too. And I'd be willing to get him on my free-to-play game because he's technically speaking a free-to-play character because he was free at one point. So it's actually kind of a hotly debated topic for people who are doing free-to-play runs on Star Rail. Is they're like, do you count this character or not? Because technically speaking, he is free. He was free for at least a little while because they're like, wow, we won, like, all the game awards. Thanks, guys. But, he was free for a little bit while. But he is still, like, you know, a 5-star character, so it's kind of like, he's pretty strong. Also, but, you know, like, follow-up attacks in Star Rail are just strong in general. But, definitely became one of my favorite characters. But, for doing the Divergent Universe thing, I got, a lot of resources, and at the end, you get, like, a little, like, it looks like a little, like, emote plushie, like, of him, where it looks like a little, like cyber duck thing, and it has, like, a little book and a little piece of chalk and a little laurel, and I'm like, aw, that's adorable. I would buy a plushie of that. That's so cute. But I'm like, yep, that was worth the mind-numbing hours it took to get to rank 100 from, like, you know, rank 1, which I was like 3 weeks ago. And getting to, like, rank 100 from there, I'm like, that was worth it. Just to get the little Dr. Ratio plush at the end. Because, you know, that's a worthwhile effort. But, anyway, so we'll get to Star Rail in a minute, because that will have to do with our con, but, so we had to, prep the night before, so that was tiring, but like, me and Mallie honestly went into this con being like, you know, we did animate and we were way more stressed for that one because that was like I don't know, maybe it's because it was in the convention center, maybe because it was a 3-day con, but like, we just felt like that one was like a way more prestigious con, and so we had to look like we actually knew what we were doing, and we actually had our stuff together, and like, you know, we were actually a legitimate store that, like, you know, had a, like, before that we kind of just assembled thing, like, before Animate, we had Meredith over and we were like, help us make a reasonable setup and boxes, and like, we need to have, like, stock, and we didn't have a lot of stock because the biggest thing that, like, we will do Animate next year, the thing we just learned was like, okay, the biggest thing that hit me for that one is I had a lot of commissions before in the winter season, and also just we got so busy that I barely had time to even get the commissions done, so that by the time we got to December was when I finished my commissions, and then, you know, the things in January, and then, you know, you just get busy during the holidays, so I didn't have as much stock as I would have liked for that con. So it was just, you know, it was just fun. Animate was still a ton of fun, but it was really, we met, you know, like, we sold good stuff, we got some really good merch out of it, we met some cool vendors, and we met some really cool voice actors and got some cool signatures. So, like, you know, Animate was a lot of fun, but we just felt like that was, like, the more prestigious one, so, like, it had... Oh, there's Madeline. I was wondering when you were going to come up to fix the camera. Yeah, she's being a businesswoman. I assume they got jolted a little bit just because, well, I mean, we had to move it in order to, you know, get everything in the right position. You can also get rid of, like, the little tissue in the back if you want. You can get another tissue then if you want. Yeah, we have a proper, camera stand and like tripod and everything like that, but it won't always stick in position. So yeah, still have a little bit of jank in our setup in farms as I'm using it. It shouldn't be the capture card though, because the capture card can go really fast. I think it has to do with. That thing's glitching because that's just the design of the video.
No, the sound is. So it's not
I mean, I guess it is getting away, but I was doing that so I could actually see like the chat. You could also just. It's not going full on the microphone. It's only like at 70%. You can just.
I'm not gonna change that here. It's fine. I was just moving it. Don't worry about it.
No, I was doing that so I could see the I could see the chat again. But so like when we did animate, that's what Mallory's going on right now, and she's going on to our shop because like anything that we didn't. Are you making it more aesthetic back there?
Yeah.
Alright. So, Malinez is taking everything that like we didn't sell at the con and putting it back on our shop. That's the other thing we learned is like when you're preparing for a con, shut your shop down. Because that was the thing that got me is I got those I didn't have to make the big Bonnie, but like I had to make like 3 new Freddies for a big order. And so that was the biggest thing we learned. We're like, okay, when we have a big con coming up, we gotta turn the shop off. Also because for some reason, like, the one day she opened it was like the day they're like, here, I'll take 5. And they're like, oh. Oops. So, that was, you know. Every time we do a market, I think we learn something else. Like, this time, we had a stand, and it was dented. So, it didn't quite hold the right way. So we, again, like I said, we spent like 3 hours trying to get our setup to fix because it should have been easier. We had great steam at first until we had to get that darn stand to keep it, because we have like a stand that goes over our table, which holds up our banner, and we hang like this wire frame from it to hold Malin's jewelry up on, and you know, like, it was like all fine until like for some reason just one side wouldn't lock, and we think it's because like it was dented on one side. And it was, like, fresh out of the box, so, like, you know, it got dented somewhere, and we're just like, I guess we should have tried this at home. But then again, none of us were thinking about it, because it's been just, it feels like it never slows down with, you know, every day you're, like, I saw this thing that was, like, you know, being an adult is always thinking, once I get past this thing, it'll slow down, and that, like, just that feeling never ends. I'm like, that's so relatable and sad at the same time. Yeah. But, so we had we just had, like, that, so we just weren't thinking about it. Like I said, we weren't, like, after Animate, we were kind of like, whatever we have left, that's what we're taking to a BoschCon. And the thing is, like, I did actually make a lot of things, because, again, when we had those snow days and stuff, I've just kind of been crocheting all along. Like, I feel when I go in with an idea of, like, I need to make a certain theme things, or, like, when I have to be like, oh, I need to make a certain amount of Freddies, I stress myself out a little bit, and then I don't want to crochet as much. I think when I just do it as I just feel like making this right now. So, like, I went through the phase where, like, for 2 weeks, I made just a lot of bunnies. Because they were fun to do, and they were easy, and the biggest thing is that, like, right now, I mean, she's downstairs, like, right now, sewing one of my, like, things. My mom sews a lot of stuff, but we, like, just got busy, so she couldn't sit down and sew things. So I didn't want it, so we had, like, a body box, where it's just a bunch of body parts in a box, and I didn't want to keep adding to that, so I did a bunch of no-sew patterns for a while, but then they were also refreshing, because then they weren't, like, you know, they didn't have any color changes, they weren't particularly big, you know, I could finish them pretty quickly, and when you have a product easy like that, then you get more of a kick out of being like, oh, I'm done. Yay. You know, and so I just had a lot of, like, granted, like, I don't think any of those sold at the market, but then again, like, that market crowd, was, I think, just a different kind. So, I'll hold on to them, and it's not like I didn't sell any crochet things, we did. Just, this time, Malin was the main star. It was all about Malin's, like, you know, jewelry, and, she's posting in the background. Malin's joy and her paintings were the really big seller this time. Everyone loved those. So, it went pretty well. But yeah, so, we kind of went in, like, very much not prepared. Not, like, we were, like, we had all the stuff prepared, but, like, mentally... Mentally, we weren't.
Fell apart.
Mentally, we were not prepared. We were very prepared in all the other ways. We just mentally were not prepared. So
We were mentally prepared, more so we just weren't mentally
there,
able to do stuff. Yeah.
we just weren't
Like,
mentally
we were
there.
prepared, and I think we defined it, like, mentally our facilities are getting very taxed.
Yeah, I think we're just getting tired, because you know, life. But and also the first day we packed snacks, and we realized you need to pack a solid meal when you're doing a like 7 to 7 day. So living and learning. We did pack a meal the next day, but it was just like by the end of the day that day we're like, this is what death is, and then we're like, oh, never mind, we had some Gatorade and some pizza, and now we feel fine. Turns out you need to eat, you know?
I mean, they were like protein snacks too. It wasn't like
Yeah, it's like it wasn't like junk food. It was just like we just took like, you know, that's what it is. We had like some protein bars and a few like little shakes and like some like crackers, but like those weren't bad food, but like they weren't a solid meal, and we needed a solid meal, so. Have the healthiest snacks in the world, but they are at the end of the day still the snacks. So like we did pretty good the first day. This crowd, again, it was AbashCon is done by Animazed, which is our place that we go to for a lot of our figures, and like, you know, just they're our local anime shop. And they were, so it was like just an anime themed con. So we didn't have any particular like things that are targeted towards like that audience or anything like that. But I think that worked out for us because everyone was just like going gaga over Maline's earrings. Like,
I think it's because they were neutral. You could apply what you wanted to them. A lot of people were getting them to use in their cosplays. It's like, this is great character jewelry or like costume jewelry. And I was like, I wear this every day. Every day is my costume.
Maline also makes really good jewelry. Like, she just makes some really unique designs that like so many people you get.
Stuff that I want to wear, you know?
The same thing, I make things that I want to own. I say that, like, you know, not to say anything bad on other crochet people, but like I admittedly do look at like some of the other things. I'm like, I'm not someone who's gonna make like 14 axolotls and like 10 leggy frogs. I'm like, no, I'm making the things I like, and I usually have one of each thing, because then I'll be like, that was cool, new pattern. So like I have a thing, and that's usually the only thing I have of it. So like if you're like, you know, I like the Withered Bonnie, and then you come back and it's not there, I'm like, well, that means someone bought it and I no longer have one. So like I have one of each thing, and once it's gone, it's gone. And not that I'm not willing to make another one, but it's like if you want to just walk away with it that day, like then you aren't, then it'll just be gone. So like Madeline makes a lot of like very unique looking earrings that aren't like you know, your standard, oh, I got this thing for like a 500 pack off of, you know, Temu or something. So, you know, she just has some really nice quality stuff.
My bees might come in a 500 pack. But one person was like, wow, you made these really fast. I was like, no. No, I sit for long, long periods of time at my desk.
We both have mental issues.
Yeah, and also during D&D, you sit in one spot for a long time.
Yeah, that's fair. But, so, she just had a lot of stuff, but for some reason, people were just going all... Normally, we put the earrings up there, and, like, no one touches them. We'll, like, sell, like, one pair in the last several markets. This was the one where, like, everyone's like, give me 5. And I brought my friend, and they want 5. And here's their other friend, and they also want 5. And we're like, oh, jeez. People really liking the earrings. So, then Madeline brought only, like, some earrings, and then the next day she brought, like, all of her earrings, and we, like, sold through, like, half of them. It was, like, insane. And then also a lot of people liked her like little glass frames. Like she was having issues with that in like the last ones. I'm like, no, this was the artsy crowd apparently, because lots of people got earrings, lots of people got little paintings. I sold like 4 crochet things, which I think was still pretty good because they were my bigger items. So like I sold my one like Scottish dragon I made a while ago that had been taken like a bunch of cons that just I felt bad because I'm like, my only dragon that like no one touches and picks up or like is even that interested in, and like finally someone came and like took him home. I'm like, I just felt glad just be like, go to your future home, buddy. But like we also had my big speckled reptar sold, and those on their own were like, you know, like the dragon was 50. I think the speckled reptar was like 45 or something like that. And just that alone, I'm like, we're almost making back the table booth, like, you know, the cost on its own with that. So, like, my things, I don't have to sell a lot of them, because they're, and I do think I still think I price under for what I make, and for the quality of what I make, but, like, I just priced like how hard it is for me to make it. So, I go and I sold that, and then I sold. I think I sold my Withered Foxy, and then I sold Shadow Freddy. So I think I sold 5 things, which is pretty good. Oh, I did also sell my Leggy Frog. And I sold my Slowpoke. So I guess I did sell a lot of things that I have had on me for a while. Yeah, so that was nice. Because there was this one person who came, my friend loves Slowpoke, and she's picking up all Mally's Slowpoke paintings. I'm like, did you know I have a Crochet Slowpoke? And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, so he's over in that box. And she's like, well, then I'm taking that one too. I'm like, good. I also love Slowpoke, and so I was like, you know, glad someone finally came to come and get it. I just really have been a fan of Slowpoke lately. And not like the regular one, like the Galarian one, but I'm like, the other one, when it has its tail down, I like it. So I did sell a fair amount of crochet things. So, and that's the thing, is like, I don't have to sell a lot to make a profit with my crochet stuff, because, you know, I think I'm selling pretty good stuff. And again, the difference, I think, with, because we were like noting this as we were like looking at some other booths, and it's not like you're going like you're judging the other, well, we were judging the people next to us, because the people next to us were kind of annoying. You ever...
Realistically, honestly, the booths were probably not even that close to each other in the grand scheme of things, but because our neighbors were very, like, man-spready, that's why I think...
They had a huge banner, and I'm like, maybe this is the time to read the room and realize you do not have the room for that.
Yeah, I was like, I was already kind of cranky, and on top of that, they were being man-spready, so I was not that happy.
If you have a giant banner and you have like 4 inches of clearance between you and the next table, maybe don't use the giant banner. And the thing is, I felt bad for like, there was 2 ladies, and like the person's like partner was like, I don't think we have room for this. She's like, yeah, we can make it fit. I'm like, I don't think you respectfully have room for this. I think you're just gonna annoy the booth around you. So it was, yeah, it was fine though. I mean, it was tight, definitely kind of airplane seatings, but that's what our feedback was to them. Be like, yeah, if you want us to come back next year, I think you need to have a little bit more room between the tables, or just lower the table price.
I'm not against coming back next year, but if they don't, which I hope they will, because luckily it is a family-run business, so I'm hoping that they'll be able to take this feedback, like, you know, they won't have to worry about going through higher ups to fix things, which is nice because it is family-owned.
And it was a fun thing, just because we had very steady traffic. I thought we had a pretty good audience.
Well, the main thing was we were right next to the voice actors. So
Oh yeah.
get up and go talk to the voice actors, because
We saw them pass in front of us like 14 times.
yeah, we didn't have to like leave our booths for a second, because for the other one it's like we could like run and meet them for like 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But this one it was like, no, you could just go up, look over, and also the people overall, outside of our one neighbor, other neighbor was great. The people there were super nice. Like all the vendors were very, very kind.
We talked to a lot of vendors. And like, you know, even the person right across from me, she's like, okay, I just started getting into the crochet, but I need to ask your opinion about yarn. And oh gosh, bless her heart, she started with eyelash yarn. I'm like, I'm surprised you didn't quit immediately after that. Because like, that's like fur yarn for like a 2-hook. Like, immensely small yarn, in addition to being fur yarn, which is already hard to use in the first place. Mally's doing all the fancy stuff in the background. Nice. But, so we just talked about yarn, and I'm like, yeah, I can give you recommendations. And the thing is, like, I didn't actually even learn that much about, like, yarn. I more, like, just tried different brands, and then came to my own conclusions about, like, how they work just by playing with them. And, you know, I guess, again, this just has kind of become, like, a special interest hyperfixation for me, so I'm kind of like, yes, I will tell you all about my stuff. And again, everyone's always surprised. I'm like, yeah, I think I've been crocheting like 10 months now. And they're like, wait, really? I'm like, yeah. Just kind of picked it up and clicked with me.
Yeah.
I did get some compliments of people saying that, like, you know, that they're like, my stitch work was very good. Because I am stressed all the time and therefore have great tension in my hands. It's not even my shoulders, just, my hands are tight, I guess. Cause it doesn't even really hurt my shoulders. It's actually, I have to make sure I don't hunch my back by accident. But like, it's not really my shoulders too much. I would really strain my shoulders though when I used to work like the Harris Teeter job, because I would like just tense my shoulders when I was pushing carts, especially under like a deadline. I enjoyed the job, just, you know, the manager's kind of annoying, so I'm like, yeah, I don't need this job. I had another job at the time, I'm like, I was keeping this because I found it enjoyable and fun, but, like, then the managers kind of got like, hey, we need you to do cashier. I'm like, nope, I'm out. I'm already working in a lane that has 50% working equipment, and, like, never has enough people, like, actually, like, there to handle the orders. So, nah. I'm not cashiering. Pull someone from another section. It's just ridiculous. It's like, you're not pulling people from the deli to go and handle cashier section. Just because our section's in the front of the store does not mean that we are a specialized group meant to only do this one thing. You don't go and pull the cashiers to come help us out. I mean, they did once, and then it just didn't work. Cause you're like, okay, I have to teach you how to do my job, which is just going to slow me down. So I'm just like, how about you bag things? And then you would be like, how do you not know how to bag things for a cashier? Be able to bag things. It's amazing. So, I gotta count for a second. Actually, no. I need to put another. I'm missing a row. Almost missed my row again. But, so, yeah, it was a fun time. I thought that, so we got to talk to, like, a lot of people from different booths, and I think sometimes it's just fun to, you know, like, hear people who are, like, you know, geeking out, and also, it was just me, but there was a lot of Danmei cosplay there.
Yes, there was a lot.
They're like a recent thing come out for them, or are they just really in right now?
There is, like, a movie coming out soon.
Like, are they...
animated series just came out in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I knew about the animated series, but I'm like, is there something recent that came out that's the reason there was so many of that particular thing here? Like, I don't think there was, like, normally the things that, like, there were a lot of people who were, like, dressed up like Embire Lune, but that's because, like, Nicholas Long was there, like, that made sense because that character's voice actor was there, but I'm like, there are a lot of Danmei outfits there. I'm like, is, like, an artist or a thing here, or is that just popular right now?
But also, there were a lot of them. I even saw some of the same exact people with the same cosplays and anime. I think just this one, there was like thousands of people, and so then you see 10 of the cosplayers. Versus here, if you have 1,000 people and you see 10,
it is fun.
Seems more obvious.
It is funny though when you see like a little group of people and you're like, and there's a little Genshin group walking past, and there's a little Star World group walking past, and oh look, there's the Vocaloids.
Yeah.
Like you'll find like groups of people that are all themed after the same thing. Like, ah, they're so cute. Look at them. They all the little cosplayers. And yeah, we want.
I have a deal for you. You give me cosplay. I give you good. I give you item.
Yeah. Madeline's trying to figure out how we want to go and like cosplay like the Subway Masters, so
I have an idea how.
She'd like thought about this for like the entirety of the second day.
Here's my thoughts.
Madeline wants the mic.
Me time.
Okay, I'll leave the mic.
I'm just gonna sit on you. You're gonna sit over here. Okay.
Okay, you have to lean to one side.
So here's my thoughts.
Okay, yeah, just lean back there.
I'm trying not to like sit on all your stuff.
You can sit on those. This is fine.
Okay. So here are my thoughts. I'm thinking. So you use. Their jackets are like big jackets with like stripes on it. So I'm thinking like I can learn how to sew because it's all like straight paneling. So I can learn how to do paneling, and so I can learn how to sew because it's all like straight lines. So I can do that and I can sew the bottom. And then we're thinking like hoop skirt for the bottom of the jacket because it's really round. So I'm thinking like maybe a hoop skirt.
Well, it just keeps it so it has body.
And then doing it in, so like the outside, then like then an inner panel to sew it up, and then you just sew like the jacket part, which it will be way harder. So like the bottom will be easier first because it's just kind of like almost like a blanket almost. So it'd be easier.
I don't think it's that complicated though. They really don't have a lot of details on the jacket.
No, but just like sewing jackets, I'm assuming is harder because you have to like measure and stuff. And then I have to make the hats, which will be easy. I'm gonna learn how to sew. That's my plan.
So we're gonna do that because
Okay, bye. I need to go update our.
So that's the idea that we'll probably go and do that at some point. That's Madeline's plan. It should be fun. My other ones that I was thinking about, like we were trying to go back and forth, like which ones you do. I'm like, I'd like to do a Joker at some point because I love characters that have long coats. So I would do a Joker, if I could get a good coat for Joker, I'd do Joker. And then like me and Malin were talking about like for Genshin Impact. I don't know if Eliza's still in the chat, but like she does cosplaying, and like you gotta get together with Malin because she's like in like a rabid mode right now where she wants to like learn how to do cosplay stuff. But she was talking about like she saw this one person at Animate do like a casual nouvelette. Okay, I gotta count for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So she saw this person at like, you know, like do like a casual nouvelette. So like it was like him without like, so like they had like, you know, like a wig to do like the, you know, the hair and stuff like that. But like they didn't have like a jacket. Like his whole like, you know, judicial roles ensemble, like he was like dressed down a bit. So like, you know, just kind of like a waistcoat, blousey shirt, like slacks type of thing. Like, you know, more dressed down sort of vibe. I'm like, actually, she's like, we could do that. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, if I did that and I wanted to do like Zhongli or something like that, I'm like, I think if you, same with the Subway Masters, I'm like, if you take away their coats, they're pretty much just office workers, like, because she was like trying to think of like their outfits, like, no, like, we wouldn't even have to do anything fancy. Outside of the Subway Masters coats and hats, they're literally just wearing a white button down and black/white pants, the belt, and a blue tie. It's like, they're actually, because again, they are train conductors. They are, you know, like civil servants, so to speak. Like they pretty much just wear like, you know their 9 to 5 in addition to being very powerful Pokemon trainers. But like they have pretty basic outfits outside of that. So I think that they would actually be pretty pretty fine there. Kind of count for a second. 7, 8, 9. There's like one row I have to count on. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I'm like, if I could do like a more like business casual type of thing, not even a business casual, just if I didn't want to do like a little bit more casual version, I could definitely do like Zhongli like that. Because like outside his coat, he's pretty much just wearing, again, like, since he's like an office worker essentially, you know, like I imagine you could just do like, you know, just like a brown waistcoat, like maybe like kind of like a taupe sort of like button down, and then like, you know, brown pants, you know, and then like maybe get like a clip or something to do like with his hair, and then like, you know, just, you know, do the eye makeup, and like that pretty much is the character. Like, because outside of that, and I mean, you probably need to get dress shoes too, but like if you take away the like the thing that's like, that's the thing I like about his outfit. Like I've gone before, I love like, you know, outfits like Nouvelet, I love like Alhaitham's outfit, but the thing I like about Zhongli's is the simplicity of it. Like, that's the reason I really like his outfit, is like, this is, again, someone who's like, you know, a dragon, a king, pretty much. But his outfit, when you look at it, is really quite simple and humble in a way. Like, I like the simplicity of it, that it's like in the little details that go and show you like the regalness of him. But like, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, he's a funeral parlor worker, you know, like, he's a consultant. It's like, it's very simple and mundane in a way. I kind of think I like that about his outfit. So, but, so those are like things that me and Malin were talking about. Anyway, on the matter of that, while Malin was talking about, we went and did, let's see, and I need to do another round. Okay. So, and yeah, so we were near the voice actors. They had like 5 or 6 of them there. They had a couple that were like older, like anime voice actors. So like, not anything that like me and Malin knew, but like there was one who like, she was in, like there was one person who was like from a bunch of different things, but most notably from like One Piece. There was someone who was, you know, like the voice actor of Agumon and Digimon, in addition to like 20 other things. There were some people from Evangelion, which I've heard a lot about. I know the theme song. I watched an animatic to this theme song. It's a good theme song, because by Yuta Hikaru, you know, who does like the theme songs for Kingdom Hearts, which are always like bangers. But so, you know, there was that, and then someone else I think it was like from like Persona 4 or something like that. But anyway, and then like, you know, they had 2 of the people from Star Rail. So like they had, I said like the guy I went and saw, which is the voice actor. I think it's Nicholas Lung. I think is how you pronounce it. It's Leung. But if you watch my crochet thing, you know I just posted like a total nerd on that like at 11 o'clock at night yesterday because I was like, I'm so happy about this. But like he was there. He's Don Hung's voice actor, who's my favorite character in Star Rail. He's the character like when I go and like I'm excited to like go and like do a, like I said, I want to do, because I've been debating, but I'm like, on one hand I was like, sometimes I go and be like, people don't want to watch these things, but on the other hand I'm also like, but I want to do this thing, so maybe I'll just do it as a stream, and then if no one shows up, I'll just do it as me recording footage for a video later. But like, kind of like how I did the reaction to like the Genshin trailers, I want to do that for Star Rail, which will be a far less, you know, taxing experience, because Genshin has like almost 90 trailers at this point. Star Rail has like almost 40, so like half of the amount of trailers. I could probably get through that in like, you know, not that one I had to watch like 40 videos in a row across 2 nights. So that was a marathon. Like there were some points where I was just like, I know who all the characters are in Genshin Impact now. Still can't remember a thing about at least a good 60 of them. But I know at least all of them by appearance now. But like, I would like to go through the Star Rail trailers and do the same thing of reacting and ranking them. I've said this before. I think it would definitely be a harder thing to do because, again, the thing I noticed with the Genshin trailers is that, like, you can definitely see the development either of the team or the company, because the beginning ones are admittedly bad. They're not good trailers. They're short, they don't really tell you anything about the characters. Half the time they're stock animations of them just fighting like basic enemies. As opposed to like a trailer should be selling you on something, especially when the whole point of a gacha game is literally to sell you. They're like, this is paid gambling. Like, you're trying to get someone to spend money to get a character, you know? And so you either have to make the character like, you know, look hot, or you like, in the case of like, you know, games, it's like you have to make them like a competitively good character, or like, the thing I think that sells them better, like for me in Star Rail versus Genshin Impact, I buy the I don't buy the characters, but like, I've gotten the characters that like I really like based on their story vibes or their appearances. Like, Zhongli's definitely a character I loved from the beginning just because I loved his outfit and I loved his whole vibe and I like the dragon vibes, and he's got the whole like, you know, he's got the whole like earthy tones that go very kind of like tired immortal steampunky trope, which is like one of my favorite tropes. So like, you know, he's just kind of hitting all the right notes for what I typically love in a character on a visual aesthetic, and then to some degree on a, at least from what I know of his story aesthetic. I know a lot about him character-wise. I don't necessarily know a lot about his story quest. So that I will be when I go back to play Genshin Impact eventually. I was taking a break of it because I have mixed opinions on Mondstadt and how it ended. I spoke about it before, so I'm not going to get into that now because I want to finish the current story I'm on. But, let's see, 4. But, I don't know a lot about, like, you know, anything here going out. I'm not necessarily going in blind. The only region I'm going in pseudo-blind is Inazuma. And even then I know stuff about that region. Just because, again, I've existed in the fandom for years. So, like, I know a lot of things from, like, ship culture alone. That's how I know some characters, is I'm like, I know this character because they're shipped with this person. Don't know why or who the heck they are, but that's how I know who they are. But, like, you know, I'm not going to be going in blind into, like, Fontaine. And that's the only one I've been trying to avoid generally information on, but that's, like, a lot of game to get through. But, although the big, kicker will be, like, I mentioned before, I'm like, I'm going to play through Leeway. If that one doesn't give me any more, like, enjoyment of the game, then I'll probably just not play the game anymore, because, like, once I was like, this isn't necessarily bad, but it's also not one of those things where, like, you know, this is the point where in a JRPG I would stop playing. Like, I have stopped playing JRPGs before, because, like, the opening act or the first couple hours, I'm like, okay, that's not necessarily bad, but there wasn't anything that gripped me here, nor made me want to play, and I have so many other games on my shelf, you know? Why do I bother? Why? Essentially, the biggest thing it has to be like, I'm not expecting Genshin Impact to like surpass Star Rail in terms of how much I love the game, but I'm like, it has to be at least of a reasonable comparison. You know, like you play the games for different experiences. Kind of like how I play Pokemon Masters versus Fire Emblem Heroes, both gacha games, but I play them for different reasons and for different experiences. So I'm like, I could still love both games. The problem is that, like, you know, where I am in the game for Genshin Impact right now, I'm kind of just like, eh. But anyway, we won't talk about that too much. Point being, I went in, like, when you go and get gacha games, I think you have to have, like, you either have the which is, this is unfortunately where Genshin Impact is now, which is usually happens with the gacha games. They start to get pandering, they start to be like sex sells mentality instead of like, let's do things that are actually like good for the game. Which I think it just happens because Genshin Impact, you can clearly tell going into the game, they did not have any idea where they were going with it. They didn't, like, it reads like one of those TV shows that didn't think they were going to get past season 1. Like, you ever watch a TV show? Like, Justice League Unlimited is a show that's definitely like this. Sleepy Hollow is another one that, like, they didn't realize they were going to get past season 1. They didn't know that they were going to get past season 2. Sleepy Hollow definitely reads as a show that's like, they did not, if anyone remembers that show, they used to film it here, in Savannah, I believe. But that was definitely a show that, like, read as, oh, we didn't think we were going to get this far. And that's why, you know, like, some serialized television goes, like, Steven Universe. I remember Rebecca Sugar talking about how she's like, yeah, we had 5 seasons planned. We didn't think we were going to get past season 1, so they had, like, stopping points built into the show. They're like, if we only get 15 episodes, we know how to end the show in 15 episodes. But we would like to get 24, and then if we get 24 episodes, we know how to stop in 24 episodes. Like, but they were, like, stopping points in the show, just in case they, like, didn't get renewed. Which, you know, I think it's smart. But, like, Genshin Impact playing in the beginning definitely reads to me like, they were just, it almost kind of reminds me of Pokemon Go in a way, where, like, they were just trying to get it, like, functional, did not anticipate they were going to be an overnight sensation, and then, like, they just grew faster than they expected to, and all of a sudden they're like, I mean, to be fair, a lot of gacha games do that. A lot of gacha games do that. Pokemon Masters, now called Pokemon Masters EX, they had a funny thing that happened with the, Twitter handle. Pokemon Masters EX, spell that out, spells Pokemon sex. And I'm like, who in the social media department did not look at that hashtag before they put it out there? But that was when they rebranded in Pokemon Masters into Pokemon Masters EX. But the original Pokemon Masters was not a fun game. Like, they didn't give out nearly enough currency, which is the biggest thing. If you want people to gamble, you have to give them the means to. So if you're making it very hard for them to get currency, because you have to lure in the free-to-play crowd. And once they are committed to the game, then they might be willing to pay money in order to, you know, get the character they want. But a lot of players are not going to go in with the mentality of, I'm going, like, the whales, aka the people who play a lot of, like, money in order to, like, 6-star, like, a character. Like, they're going in that mentality anyway. The people that you have to encourage to spend money are the people who, like, you know, are like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. Like, those are the people you gotta pull in, and the way you do that is with free-to-play malls. And if Fire Emblem Heroes did the same things, I'd love to do, like, a research thing on gacha games, because the amount of gacha games I've, like, played, I've not played a ton. Like, I've played, like, 6, maybe, over the course of several years. But, like, it's funny to look at them and see how they all tend to follow very similar patterns. And it really does depend on how they start. So the fact that Genshin Impact is where it is right now in terms of its quality and its most recent region does not surprise me, because it's honestly, that's why I don't blame them. Like, I just think that there are some things that they did even in the beginning that kind of, like, led them to be here. But, like, Pokemon Masters and Fire Emblem Heroes had the same issue where, like, they had a good content and it was good stuff in the beginning, but then they didn't test, like, Pokemon Heroes. Fire Emblem Heroes didn't anticipate its popularity, so people, like, burned through the content in the first several months, and so they thought they were going to have, like, they were going to be able to do, like, you know, an update every 3 months or so. Like, after 6 months, people had burned through all the content in the game, and they were like, okay, is there more stuff to play? And people stopped playing because they're like, oh, well, there's no stuff in the game. So then they realized that they had to not just do monthly events, they had to do, like, weekly events, because people were playing it so much, and it was a, you know, very profitable game. I think it still is. I stopped playing it because I played originally Fire Emblem Heroes because it was like, I saw it as a Fire Emblem anniversary title, aka, here, play all these classic game characters from other games and get to chance to see characters from different games interact with each other. And then at this point in the game, it's like, it's pretty much just all around about the original characters from the the universe of Fire Emblem Heroes. And so I'm like, it's not really the anniversary game I wanted to play anymore. And it's also, they just kind of went off the deep end in terms of like the boobs, bestiality sort of stuff they started designing with some of these characters. Like, just the outfits for some of these ladies were unrealistic, and then like sometimes they were just going so hard into like different mythologies that you're like, this doesn't even look like Fire Emblem anymore. You know? People complaining about Engage looking too much like Genshin Impact. I'm like, yeah, oh no, you look like Genshin Impact, like one of the most easily recognizable brands that exists right now in terms of the JRPG space. I don't see how that's a bad thing. I don't see how that could possibly be an insult to, like, you know, it's like when people are complaining about, like, Three Houses copying Persona 5, I'm like, oh no, it's copying this one incredibly powerful and profitable and incredibly popular game. You can't beat them, join them, you know, like, you take lessons from other things. That's how things get better, honestly. That's why you shouldn't. That's why when, you know, to jump off to another thing for a moment, that's why... I'm looking at them. Mini Meredith and Mini Melly. I originally saw it, like, before it auto-corrected to say Mini Smelly, and I thought it was funny. Mini Melly. I would have to learn how to... I would like to do characters for, like, you know, but I have to learn how to do dolls. And it's not, like, something I don't think I have, like, a pattern for a couple of, like, dolls. Like, you can literally make, like, people dolls. I don't think it would be hard for me, necessarily. I have all the necessary skills. Just typically, you work those in acrylic yarn, and I can work with acrylic yarn fine. I just don't care to work with acrylic yarn, just because it's you know, it's tougher on your fingers. I am a sensory person, so like I use softer yarns because that's nicer on my fingers. But like I don't really care for when no, that's not what I was looking for. I don't really care for like just working with acrylic yarn for a while. Just kind of wears my fingers down. It's rough on my fingers. That's why like I can make a potion bottle in a day, but it definitely makes my fingers like feel rough and sore afterwards. Like my fingers still get sore when I'm working with this stuff, but it's not as bad. So let me see, where's my cheeks on this thing? Okay. Okay, where's my face here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. Okay, that should be about right. Okay. Punch those eyes in. And we're almost done with the Chica head. 2 more rows and we'll be done with the Chica head. We can move on to their body parts. See how much of this I can get done tonight. Chica's also one I could arguably get done on stream because she doesn't have a lot to her. The only thing that adds is that when I'm doing the Withered ones, there's a little bit more detail work. But I'm like, it's pretty much she has her body and she has her beak. And like otherwise, like the arms, like the legs, I don't have to do like color changes like I do with like... I was doing a shadow body earlier today. Maybe I'll show him on stream at some point. But like the other ones, I'd have to do like color changes. There's more pieces and parts. Like Freddy has ears and a hat and a bow tie. Chica's just like, yeah, she's got a beak. Otherwise, same as the other one. She has feet and she has arms, but those are crocheted in anyway. So like the only sewing that has to do is usually her mouth. So like I'll do that in a few minutes, but like she's a pretty easy one to do ultimately. Anyway, so gosh, I don't remember what I was talking about originally. I'm sure it was important. Anyway, so point being is that Bashugan did well. I think we made good profit there. We got some good stuff there. We didn't really honestly buy a lot. I went and got like I went and found like this one place that was like, again, the one big thing is like I don't have an image of the character here, but anyway, if anyone's ever watched me play when I'm playing a Star Rail, it's the one character I play that's like the water dragon guy. Like, so Dunham's one of your free to play characters. He's actually one of the major characters in the game because he's part of the Express crew, so he's kind of like, well, he's very heavily shipped with the male Trailblazer, which I definitely get behind, just to say. Like, also, like, you see the two of the voice actors messing around with each other on Twitter is like, yeah, that ship writes itself. Anyway, but, like, I'm also like, yeah, I can also put him with a female Trailblazer, though. I think that they definitely work together. I personally, though, I'm like, I think the female Trailblazer is very cute with March 7th, who's definitely, she might not realize it yet, but she's definitely into girls. I can't wait to get into this game, because there are so many fun character things that happen there, and like, yeah, you know, they can never actually explicitly say anything about the character relationships, but at least I like in Star Rail, there's a lot of characters that you just kind of like, from the way they're written, you're like, yep, that's a ship. That's totally a ship. There's one that like, people almost like kind of agree is canon, because they're like, yep, these two go together, there's no way they're there with anyone else. And, like, the way they act is just so cute with each other, and I'm like, you know, I like me a good, like, you know, gay guys ship, and, like, it's nice when they have some girl stuff, too, because then you're like, okay, we get to pass it around, you know? So, Dunham's one of the first characters you get. I originally started playing the game because I saw the trailer for his, for, like, an alternate outfit for him. I probably put these on crooked, but whatever. My stuff always leans a little bit to the left, so that's the other reason I like when I don't have to do color changes, because then that's the reason, like, I had my one, like, Godzilla that was, like, you know, had, like, his, like, stomping pose, is because the thing shifted to the left. Whenever I do patterns, like, if I follow it precisely without, like, really knowing what I'm doing, my things always shift to the left. I guess it's just because of my tension. But, that way, like, if I know what I'm doing, I'm more aware of, like, a pattern I'm making, like, when I'm doing, like, you know, the stomach patterns on, like, my Bonnies or my Freddies, then I can be more aware of it, and I can, like, shift it to the left to make sure the pattern stays straight. But, like, if I'm doing it, like, a pattern for the first time, all my stuff tends to shift slightly to the left, and I'm just like, yeah, it's a little awkward. No one ever notices besides me, but it bugs me. Anyway, so I started playing for, like, his, like, secondary form, which is, like, again, like, a water dragon, like, god thing. It's, like, Donghung's, like, literally, like, if Nuvola and Zhongli had a child, is that character. Like, he sits right between, he looks essentially like a younger, like, not necessarily younger, because to be fair, Zhongli looks really young on his own. Like, I look at him, like, you look at him in artwork, and, like, he has this, again, like, just sort of, like, maturity and age and wisdom and kind of this power about him. But you look at his model in the game, I'm like, you look like you're 25. Like, and yet you talk like you're 80. How the fact that no one figured it out up until this point is kind of impressive. The only place there are bigger idiots than a monster, I guess, are in Leeway, but whatever. Can't blame for the god for being dense, and apparently that's what his people do too, but, you know. But anyway, so, like, Donna looks like essentially like Nuvola and, like, Zhongli had a child, because he's somewhere in between the two of them in terms of personality and, like, abilities. Because, you know, he has, like, this whole, like, he's, like, a water dragon, essentially. And, like, so I originally started playing the game for that form, because, like, oh, that's really pretty. So I literally started playing the game because I saw a cool trailer with him. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll go. I figured it was going to be, like, a normal gacha game where I'm like, okay, I'll go and I'll burn resources and I'll build them up, because I figured it was going to be like when I started playing Genshin Impact. Like, Genshin Impact, you don't have to go very far in order to start, like, building resources. And honestly, again, Mondstadt's dialogue and stuff in the beginning of the game is very not that impressive. So, like, you don't have to really focus. It's pretty easy to jump into a game and just kind of start grinding currency. I started playing Star Rail and I'm like, this is actually good. This actually has, like, good story, and, like, I actually am curious about the characters now, and what the heck? Like, I intended to go into it just to grind resources, because at the time I was playing more with, like, you know, I just started playing, Genshin Impact 2. But I was reading a lot of Genshin Impact fanfiction, so that was my hyperfixation at the time. And then I went into Star Rail, and I was like, oh, This isn't just like a normal gacha game. This is actually like has story and character development and good turn-based combat. Am I sure I'm playing a gacha game? It's like, that's why I describe Star Rail as a JRPG that has gacha elements, while I would call Genshin Impact a gacha game that has open world gameplay. Like, the gacha feels like it comes secondary in Star Rail. Like, you can play entirely with free-to-play characters and still be pretty, actually, it's a kind of fun thing to do as a challenge. But, like, in Genshin, it's like, yeah, you can't get very far with the free-to-play characters. Like, you can, but you also, definitely not as a free-to-play person, and definitely not without having significant knowledge of the game. I got through the majority on my first playthrough, and that's when, again, I still didn't really understand how the mechanics work in Star Rail. I got through the majority of the game with the free characters. Like, again, the 5-star characters are obviously better, but, like, none of them are bad. There's, like, 2 I would say that I classify as bad, and that's more in the fact that they are really outclassed by a different character. Namely, anyone in the preservation path, because it's like, yeah, March 7's good, she's a free-to-play preservation character, they're the shielding characters, but I'm like, yeah, anyone who's an adventuring is kind of like, you tried. This guy's just way better. Sorry. Anyway, Chica head. So now we're going to work on some other pieces for her. I think we'll do her arms next, which are actually going to be shorter because it's a withered Chica, so she will be missing her hands. So I actually make the arms a little shorter, so they look nubby. And that's what I do sometimes with, I don't write patterns yet. I would like to write a pattern eventually. The thing is, like, I just don't know what I would make a pattern for. Because, like, you know, I can like modifying patterns, like taking a base pattern and then, like, that's why I make, like, my withered Chica and stuff. Like, I take the base pattern and then be like, how could I make this look like this thing, you know? And I've done that with a few other things before. Okay, that didn't hold. But I like going and be like, hey, I have this, like, you know, I have this character and I'm going to represent them in this thing. Like, you know, I went and made a dragon character, you know, a dragon pattern. It's based off Zhongli, so I made, like, the colors different and I added some extra detailing. And, you know, stuff like that. So, like, I like doing that sort of thing. And that's what I like doing with, like, these FNAF ones. And, like, I didn't even tend to. Like, this is just, like, the first... Like, I have other FNAF patterns, but, like, it's just these 4. I really like the way that they're written. And, like, they leave a lot of room for, like, variability and, like, being able to edit. Because the pattern's simple enough that I can repeat it multiple times without too much effort. But it also is, like, you know, it's still identifiable enough that I can change it and it still looks like, you know, like the character. Like, some of them times you, like, try and change a pattern and, like, it's really only meant to look like that certain thing, so when you try and change it to be something else, it doesn't look right. I have done that at least once on a pattern. But, anyway, so, point being, the whole reason I play Star Rail, I started playing Star Rail in the first place, was essentially from, like, Don Hung's, like, dragon form. And I, like, loved, and then, like, again, the fact that they're like, no, this isn't just a special character, like, this is actually one of the main characters. In fact, like, when you get to see his, like, alt form, it's like, it's not just a fancy costume. Like, most of the time gachas have alternate costumes, alternate things, and usually it's just a aesthetic change. I like whenever there's an alternate outfit to a character in Star Rail, it's a, like, a character choice. Like, that character has changed their, because the way, like classes work in in Star Rail is that they're paths, so paths they walk in life. Like, whatever is most important to them is that, like, that's the power they get, is from walking that path in life, so. In his case, where, like, you know, March does as well, the Trailblazer, like, when they significantly change in their values or they grow as a person, they might walk a new path and therefore become a new character, you know? So they're, like, behave slightly differently. They might, like, you know, attack, like, in his case, he goes from being, like, a hunt character, which is a single target damage dealer, and the biggest thing about those is that hunt characters are people who are highly focused, they know how to channel their energy into one location, they are very driven to accomplish something. That's why a lot of hunt characters are, like, very goal-getters. They are very, like, a lot of them are, like, warriors or guards, or they're, like, there's something that's driving them to accomplish a goal, or usually very single-minded. So then when he becomes, like, you know, his full form, like, you know, the other one is him essentially, like, at 10% power, like Zygarde 10% form. Like, he's at lower power, but that's intentional because he's focusing his power and he's only using the bare minimum he needs to in order to do his job, which is to guard people and protect people. But then, like, you know, when he goes into his other form, like, he turns into a destruction character because destruction characters are just about wanton destruction. They are doing a lot of damage, they take a lot of damage themselves in battle. Sometimes even destruction characters will harm themselves in battle in order to like get like there's this one guy I keep describing to my sister as like mini Sino because he's literally Sino from Genshin Impact. Like entirely. He's early on in the game, but like you look at his face, you listen to him talk, and you like he even is like an electric purple character. Like he's literally Sino, and I think it's so funny. But like his character thing is like he does his attack essentially for free and doesn't use a skill point, but he also does damage to himself when he does that attack. So, like, the more damage he takes, the more damage he'll do. So, but then also, obviously, you get lower HP, you have a chance of getting knocked down. So he does really well with a shielding character. But, like, you know, destruction characters, they don't care about hurting, like, themselves, or, like, they're just out there to cause destruction, to take damage, to just completely all restrictions lost. So I like the fact that, like, you know, in case of, like, Don Hung, he goes from, like, Hunt, when he's, like, focused, and, like, trying to put all his energy into, like, a singular person, to, like, a destruction character where he's just let go of all the barriers, and is just causing this, has this, like, god tier strength. Which, you know, there's all, like, a whole reason behind that. I love that there's, like, a whole, like, story reason as to why he changes that, and, like, you know, same thing with, like, March. She starts out preservation, she's all about protecting her friends, and then, you know, when she, like, I want to have a greater purpose in life, she goes and becomes a Hunt character, because she has this single-minded goal now. So I'm taking a moment to have a snack. It's Teacher Appreciation Week. So they brought us, like, bagels and scones this morning. I didn't get a chance to eat them because I was a floater, so it means that, like, I'm kind of there to do office work. But something, like, randomly happens. They're like, we need help in a room. Then I'm off to go help that. So, like, I go, like, if someone needs a bathroom break, I go and stand with the kids. Or, like, today, there was a kid having a meltdown in the hallway. So, like, one of the teachers, there's two teachers in a classroom, so one of the teachers stays behind to help the kid who's having a meltdown. So I just jumped in with the other teacher to help her get the kids to the classroom. So I got scones. Did not actually eat them. I ate one of them. And then after I was done with that classroom, like, another teacher had to leave early, so I ran over to the other classroom to go and help them out over there. Which I enjoy because, you know, I like being helpful, but I have a scone here. That's why I'm eating a scone right now, but I just want to listen. So anyway, long-winded story. Point being, like, I was very much, like, at Genshin Impact, I was very much into, like, Jean Lee, I was very much into Al-Haith, and my, like, Nouvelle had just come out. Like, it's funny that both Genshin and Star Rail were doing a water dragon at the same time. Like, Nouvelle came around at the same time Don Hong's, like, secondary form came out. So there were just two water dragons I was trying to get in these two different games. It was way easier to get Don Hong for whatever reason, just because, I don't know, I just had better luck in Star Rail. Also, they just give you out way more currency in the beginning. So it's actually easy to pool a lot on a character in the very beginning. But Newlet, I was also trying to build up stuff for, and he was a lot more stubborn, so I took a lot longer to get him. Don Hong, I got him, and I still have resources left over. Like, Nuvela, I had to go, like, try and get him, and then buy currency to get him, because at that point I was so high on my pity rating, and I'm like, I'm not stopping until I get him. Which I did, but he's cool, so I don't mind. He's a great character. Well, I don't know about character. He's a great unit. I don't know about character, but he seems cool. He's a lawyer. He seems like Edgeworth, and Edgeworth's pretty cool. But, so I literally started playing the game. The whole reason for this ramble is I literally started playing the game because of this one character in Star Rail. And even though I talk a lot about, like, you know, a lot of other characters in the game, especially in the last world I was in, like, with Aventurine and Akron and Dr. Ratio and stuff like that, they're definitely, like, really up there. I'm like, at the end of the day, Don Hong's still my favorite character. I would like to get more, like, posters and stuff on it of him. I don't have as many right now. I just have, like, a few in our room. We have some that are pretty big that we'll get at some point. But his voice actor was there. And it was cool because I was originally, you know, like, I remember hearing about it, and Madeline, like, told me about it, and I just kind of, like, forgot, I guess. But, I was, his voice actor was there, and I was like, oh. I remember, like, thinking about that and being like, you know, like, that's cool, I should make more dragons, and I just forgot because, you know, we got busy and tired and stuff like that, so I just totally forgot about doing that. I mean, I had my Rex Lapis dragon going in, so, I mean, that was something, and everyone loved him. Like, everyone came up to our like, no one had the money to buy him because I was selling, you know, he's $200, you know. which I think even then, like, I'm lowballing a little bit because he took a lot of man hours and a lot of yarn. So I'm like, even then, I think I could arguably even charge more than that for him. But I'm like, I thought 200 was fair. And honestly, everyone who came up and like saw the price tag, they're like, yeah, fair. That's it. And like, no one was being like, oh, this is too much, or oh, can I have it for cheaper? Like, oh, no, that's fair. And you know, people come with so much money to a con, so they're like, I want him, but I also don't have that sort of money. I'm like, that's fair. So now we have someone who wants to put a deposit down on him, and then like once they pay off the full like amount, we'll send it to them, which I'm down for. Okay, let me pay attention for a second because I need to make sure I do this right. Then after that, I continue this point. Make sure I have to do the back loops. That's the thing that also I've got crocheting is that, like, you know, in order to do like some alterations, it's kind of like when you learn how to work with like colors as an artist or like, you know, grammar as a writer. It's like you kind of just have to know the tools, so that essentially that's the whole reason like you learn grammar, is like in like when people complain about like, you know, capitalizations or proper comma usage. Like, no, the reason you learn the rules, that's actually why poetry is deceptively hard to do. As much as people think it would be easy with like the freeform poetry especially, but like it's deceptively hard to do because the reason you have to like know the rules is so you know how to break them properly. Because like, you know, if you see a rule, like it's kind of like, you know, if you spell something or like when you're doing dialogue or something like that and you don't like have a proper sentence, like if you're doing it with intent, if you do it because you know how the rule is and you know why you're breaking it, then that's different. But if you're doing it because you just don't know grammar and you don't know how to write a proper sentence, that will show in your writing. It make you look really immature. I know, I've read many papers of that, and I'm in grad school. It's amazing how I can be in grad school and then, like, help someone with a paper and, like, not like, I'm hoping to become a tutor soon, so, like, we'll see how that goes, but, like, in my, like, one of my grad classes, I'm like, how are you in a grad program and having this many spelling mistakes? Or, like, it's not, half the time it isn't even spelling mistakes or, like, you know, comma uses, it's just, like, the story quality, like, the writing quality just feels immature. You're just like, this doesn't have any voice to it, it's just kind of rambling on, and I know, as a rambler, I'm like, this is rambling on, like, without purpose, at least when I'm rambling, it has purpose. But, okay, I think I need to, okay, I gotta count for a second here. Make sure I'm doing this right. 2, 1. Two. 3. 4. 1, 2. Alright. So, anyway. I don't even know why I was rambling about writing. Anyway. I'm just thinking about it because I'm doing my grad classes right now. I want to be a writing tutor. I was an online writing tutor because then I could be something I could do from home. And I would love to help people with writing because then it would help grow my writing skills. Because crazy enough, I do like helping and teaching people stuff. So I still have this idea in mind that maybe I can be a teacher one day. Even though it's like not a profitable like career field at all, but I don't know. Most of the career fields where you help people aren't, unfortunately. Right. So, what was I saying? Saying something. I think I was talking about crochet before that. But anyway, so point being, we went to this BashaCon, and we didn't really have any like selective stuff. So like, I knew that like, you know, Don Hong's voice actor was coming, and so I was sitting there being like, you know, should I go over? And Madeline's like, go. Like, she literally kicked me out of my booth and said, like, I know this is... She's like, I know you like this character, just go, you know, get something, say hi, and like... So I went over the first time, and because there was no one... She's like, if there's no one there, then go for his booth, because like Madeline said earlier, we were like in the alley that goes right to where the voice actors were. So, like, they literally passed us to get water and stuff, like, 15 times. Like, they had to pass us to, like, leave the area. So, we saw people coming back and forth all the time. Like, half the time I'd be looking and be like, I know I've seen that face before. I'm like, oh, it's the voice actor lady who stopped by here earlier. So, like, it was kind of cool that they were, like, you know, that close. It wasn't like, you know, when we did before, we were, like, on the other side of the convention hall in order to get the voice actors. But, like, this time we're like, oh, no, we could literally poke our head out and, like, see them. So, in spite of everything, I think we were very lucky in terms of our placement in the con. Like, yeah, sure, it was tight, but, like, I think we had a good placement where we were. I don't know how they organized things, if they did, like, an order of, like, sign up or something like that, but we were in a good, like, location. And so, like, she pushed me over there to go and, like, say hi and, like, you know, get them to sign something. So I went over the first time. And it was, like, just funny just because he was just so really nice. And I told Madeline, she's like, he reminds me of, like, one of your guard friends, like, one of the nice ones. Which, by that I mean that, like, very high energy, very, like, almost, like, excited to be there, just wanting to talk about, like, both his character, but also, like, hear about why people were there, and, like, just high energy, ready to geek out about stuff, and because, like, I came over and, like, you know, was saying, like, you know, I came over to give him this sign a poster, and, like, that was a little too much stuff in there. I think, let's see how many rows we have. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, let's do one more. Cause I don't want this to be too short either. I want it to be long enough of a hand that is obviously a hand. Let's do one more row. But it's always like, you know, asking about, like, you know, I like, you know, I like the fact he's like my shirt. I was wearing an Eevee shirt, and he, you know, because my name's Eevee, he's like, oh, cool. And then it's like how'd you get into the game? And I'm just like, oh, well, it's actually because of this character. And I'm like I watched, like, you know, the trailer for, like, I watched the, like, one animated short for him, and then I, like, absolutely fell in love with the character from visuals alone. So I started playing the character just so I could get him, and, you know, he was just, he's clearly, like, this is his first major, like, voicing role. So, like, and he's, like, just very stoked about it, and, like, you know, was clearly very excited about it, because he's like, yeah, he's just, you know, he was very easy to talk to, he's very friendly. It's nice, because, you know, it depends on, like, voice actors, it does really depend, but, like, when you get one that's, like, you know, sometimes you have the ones that are, like, the very seasoned, and they, like, you know, they're people who, like, maybe want to be, maybe, sometimes you see them where, like, they want to be more seen as their person, and they do other things, but he's one that's like, yeah, he's like, me and the character are, like, the same person. And I'm like, well, to be fair, you do look a lot like the character. So, like, you know, anything that he, like, his character is in, he's like, I'm in it, and that's really cool. And so, like, he was talking about, like, I remember he was saying, like, you know, for the one animated short, which I will show, like, when I do my, like, reaction to videos, I will do one where I watch all, like, the animated shorts. Which, again, Genshin's getting into that now. I have to say that, like, you know, I'm not saying Genshin's bad now. Like, they've gotten much better in trailers. I've seen some of their animated shorts. They are really good. It's just a pity that Star Rail started that way, you know? Like, Genshin walked so Star Rail could run. Or Genshin limped, actually, in the first region, if you look at it, so Star Rail could run. Because, like, a lot of the things that Star Rail does great now are things that Genshin had to, like, take, like, 3 regions to get right, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just also one of those things where you're like, yep, growing pains. And also there are just some things that are, like, quality of life things that, like, Star Rail is doing better than, like, okay, it works in this game, why don't you put it in your other gacha game? They're like, nah, and you're like, oh, alright. Anyway, so, positive vibes only right now. So, and he's like, and I remember he was like talking about, like, so this animated short that I'm like, you know, I was like, so cool. I'm like, it's like, the animation's so great. He's like, I know. He's like, they showed it to me, and he's like, I don't know how to be that cool. Like, that's what he told me. He's like, I'm voicing this character. He looks so cool. I don't know how to do that. And so, like, he, you know, it was really, because that's pretty much, like, the biggest thing he was there for. So there were a lot of people dressing up as his character. Because, you know, he also just has a really cool outfit. So a lot of people were dressing up as his character. And so a lot of people came over. And so then I went, and he just was very nice. And very, like, just nerding out. And, like, you know, Very energetic and stuff like that. So I had him sign a poster, and that was pretty cool. And then after that, I told Madeline, I'm like, you should go over and say something to him, like, and, you know. And she's like, well, I don't really know. I'm like, well, that's what you can do. You can go over and say that, like, I said he was, like, you know, I'm like, you can just say, like, oh, well, I watch it because my sister plays, because Mallory's not played the game yet. It's one of those games where I told her, I'm like, this is one, because she wants to read fanfiction for them, because she knows a lot of the couples in Star Rail, but I'm like, trust me when I say this is one of those, like, Genshin Impact, I clearly have proven, as have many other people, you can very much enjoy the fandom without ever touching the game. Like, again, I don't like the game. I doesn't mean I don't like Genshin Impact, though. I read a lot of fanfiction. I've seen a lot of really cool fan works and comics. So, like, I think Genshin Impact's a game where I love the concept of it. Like, its execution in-game, not very clean, at least in the early regions from what I've seen. And it's like, I don't, you know, it has its strengths and its weaknesses, clearly. But, like, I love it conceptually. That's the biggest thing I remember saying at the end. That was why I felt so twisted at the end of, like, Mondstadt. I'm like, conceptually, I really like Venti as a character. I've really grown very fond of him. But execution-wise, in the actual game, as in terms of what they're actually doing, whether they're using this character to his full potential, oh gosh, it's not good. He's, like, not used very well. They kind of just make him really weak in spite of saying, like, it's saying, like, this character is so powerful, but we're not going to have them show any feats of strength. In fact, we're actually going to have them get beaten up a couple times. Like, then that's not a strong character. I think you're missing something here, bro. But, like, I just felt conflicted about it. So anyway, so I told Madeline, you know, like, that, like, you want, like, I'll give you all the, like, osmosis knowledge off of Genshin Impact. I'll tell you the lore if you're really interested in playing it, but, like, honestly, you can just go into the Genshin Impact fandom and just be like, I think this couple is very cute, and I'm gonna read fanfiction for them, and you'll usually be fine, because the storytelling, because it is an open world game, the storytelling isn't as much of a focus. Star Rail is a JRPG, at its heart, so it kind of has to be good at storytelling. Genshin Impact being an open world game means that it can tell its storytelling much slower and more spread out. To its detriment and its benefit, sometimes it really depends. Open world games can be very hit or miss when it comes to storytelling, environmental storytelling at least. I have to do the back loops now. But, I told her, I'm like, we will play it and I'll play it from, like, when I was playing Star Rail the first time and I was telling her about it, I'm like, this is a game that I want you to play with me, or at least be in the room as I play through again, because I'm like, this is a good one. Like, this is like when we were playing Persona 5 together. I'm like, I want you to at least be there to, like, experience the story. The biggest one I told her about was, like, you know, like, one of the big ships I like is, like, Dr. Horatio Adventuring. I'm like, but I told her, I'm like, don't read any fiction for that one. I'm like, trust me when I say you need context in order for this ship to work. And you don't want to spoil anything. It's a very, very good story that is worth waiting to experience. Like, don't, you know, we'll do it together and we'll enjoy it and we'll have fun together. And then, you know, I told her, I'm like, I assume that once we get done with, like, you know, school and stuff like that, and, you know, she's not so swamped as a teacher, I'm like, that's when the two of us will get a chance to play stuff like that. You know? But I'm like, we'll play together, and you can enjoy it, and you can have your own account and stuff like that. And, like, trust me when I say this is one thing that you do not want to read fanfiction for without prior knowledge, because the gameplay actually is good. The story is actually really impactful. The characters actually are pretty well written across the board. Like, you'll want to enjoy this one. So I essentially just told her, like, just go over there and say, like, your sister plays it, and just say hi, and and so she did. I remember I just looked across the table and I just saw her, like, you know, miming with her hands, and I was like, I can use, because we both talk with our hands a lot. You would see me doing that if I wasn't crocheting at the moment. In fact, I do that even when I'm not crocheting. You probably notice that when I do it, but, like, I saw her doing, like, that sort of thing, and then, like, you know, this sort of thing. I'm like, I bet you she's talking about how I'm really calm and she's really outgoing, and she was, and I thought, I'm like, yep, I know my sister. But, so she went and talked to him. She's like, yeah, he's pretty cool. So he was very nice, very energetic. So I came home that day, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But I was like, you know, like, I went and saw some, but I was like, what do I have in my room that I could get signed? Because she was trying to get something, like, sign that she had, like, one of her, like, the voice actors of a character she likes in Danganronpa, I think it was, like, Chihiro, you know, 1, sorry, I gotta count for a second, 2, 3, 4. So she was gonna get something signed by like that voice actress, because like normally you go up and they'll have special posters, and they'll usually sign those for you. And sometimes like Malin and I sometimes just go up and be like, you know, to get a cool poster and get the signature on it. Like when we went and saw it was Robbie something like that. The person who does Ryuji, like she went up there because she like wanted to get like a Leo and a like Ryuji poster, because they don't have a lot of stuff for those characters for whatever reason. So, she went over there to go and, get something, like, from him. That's when we, you know, he's very cool. So I told her, like, just go over there, like, you know, check out the stuff and you get posters. I was trying to find out, like, something he could sign for me. So, like I said before, have ordered the physical edition for Star Rail, because I'm like, even though it is a free-to-play game, like, I love the game so much that I'm like, I'm willing to go and get a physical copy of it, because I love this game and I want to support it. And that way, if, you know, I don't know, if it ever is not, like, online, then I guess I got a physical edition of it, but, like, I really love the game, and I also it was, like, $40 for a special edition is really nice, honestly. Like, most special editions add, like, $20 onto the asking price. $40 for a special edition is pretty good. So I'm like, I'll go have my, like, you know, do my special edition, and, you know, he's just very... Yeah, he was a very nice guy, so I was like going to be like, oh, I think I could do that. And then of course I come in the next day, and that's when I'm starting to feel all shy and be like, okay, is it weird I'm asking him to go sign my video game case? And my sister's like, no, that's fine, you know, you just go be a nerd. And she's like, this is your favorite character, so I don't think it's weird. And so she again had to pretty much push me outside of the booth, because I was like, you know, getting shy and be like, oh, I don't want to do that. And I was like, he looks like he just came off his lunch break. I want to go and she's like, oh, you're not allowed back in the thing until you do it. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. But, so I went over to him, and it was just funny, because I went over and, like, be like, hey, I'm here. And the funny thing is that, like, because we came so close to each other before, like, when when Malin came over, she's like, oh, yeah, I'm her sister, we're running a booth together. And he's like, oh, yeah, she just talked to me. And so I came over, I'm like, hey, I was here yesterday. He's like, oh, yeah, I remember you. Which I'm like, oh, yeah. And then he liked my Stitch sweater I was wearing. But I was like, can you sign my video game case? And he's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Because he's like, no one's ever shown me this before. He's like, I want to get it at some point, but, you know, like, just because you're in a game doesn't necessarily mean that they're, like, automatically going to give you the game or something like that. Like, they still buy it themselves. And he's like, I've not seen this before. I'm like, can I look at it? So I let him open it up, and I, like, showed all the stuff that was, like, in my special edition, and, like, he was just, like, nerding out, like, immensely over all the stuff that was, like, in the case, and, like, you know, and stuff like that. And, like, you know, the voice actor for one of the other, like, characters that was in the game, for, like, Sela was in, I had there was a card of that, so he, of course, showed that to, like, the voice actress who was next door, because, like, a lot of them are, like, newer, like, voice actors, so, like, I think they, like, a lot of them hang out with each other, because they're all kind of new to the, like, the kind of, the roles, the life, and stuff like that, so he was showing it to her, and it's funny, they have, like, they were, like, teasing each other about, she's like, well, I'm in the game, at least. He's like, yeah, I don't have a card, and I'm not on the cover. He's like, I'm an important character. So, like, so that's why I have, like, down here, I have my game. You can see, like, kind of up there. He signed it up there. And the thing about it is, though, like, so he signed my special edition. I thought it was just very funny that, like, again, he hadn't seen it before, and he's like, so he wanted, like, open it and, like, see what was inside it. And he's like, this is so cool. And he said he signed it at the top so that if I ever meet one of their voice actors, that they'll sign down by their characters. He's like, but I'm not anywhere on the game. He's like, you know, he's like, I'm an important character, and I'm like, I'm not even on the cover. It was really cool. He was super cool. And so I did it, but here's the thing. So I did, let's see, is this about as long as the other one? I'll make sure I'm making these the same size. Yes, one more row. But, so I walk over there, and I walk back. And so, I talked to him, and I talked to him, because, again, the con wasn't huge, so there wasn't, like, lines. Like, there were lines for some of them sometimes, but generally there weren't a lot of people over there, so you actually could just stay there and talk with them for a little bit. And so, I did stay there and talk, obviously, because obviously I had time to go and show him, like, all the fun, cool things in my special edition. So, I, like, went in, just showed him all that stuff, and, it was like, thanks, for doing this, you're really awesome, I love your character, you're a really cool dude, and then, I walk away and I go back to the thing, and then I come back and I'm going to show it to my sister, and my hand had smudged the signature, so it's had the part with my name, but it actually smudged the part with his name, and I was just so upset, because I'm like, I smudged it, this important thing that I got, and I smudged it, I ruined it, I was so upset. Okay, I think I actually might have. How many rows do I have here? Let me make sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I might have done one too many rows. I'm not sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or maybe that is 8. Okay, give me a second. Let me double check, make sure I have these things same size. I can generally crochet on autopilot because I've done these patterns so many times, but let me just pay attention for a moment here to make sure I have these the same height. So again, it will not bother anyone else if the arms are slightly uneven, but it will bother me. So I'm neurotic like that. Let me... Come on, go through the other stitch. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I thought so. I did one too many rows. It's fine. I thought so. I was like, this looks a little too tall. Okay. So I need to do a chain here. A little bit out there. I need to go focus. 1. I'm just keeping you in suspense with this with this story while I fix this arm. Okay, is that the same size now? Okay, that looks better. That's one thing about modifying the pattern. Since I don't write it down, I kind of have to eyeball it and be like, okay, I made this once. Let me look at the picture and figure out how I did it the first 2 times. Okay, now we got 2. Now we got stump arms. Awesome. So, let's see this. Awesome. It's cool when they take the time to talk there. Yeah, again, he just seemed like so stoked to be there. He seemed like excited that everyone else was excited that, about the character, and he was excited that they were excited, and so, like, so I got it and I smudged the signature by, and I was really upset. Marlene's like, I'll go fill it in at home. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like, and I was like, I could go and ask him to, like, just trace over again, but I was like, that's weird. I just talked to him for a while. It would be weird for me. Because I had already walked back because I forgot to take it with me the first time. Like, I signed the guest book, and then left it on the table, and I had to walk back and go and grab it because I left it on the table. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm just so excited and stoked and stuff like that. And so, I felt embarrassed going back and being like, hey, sorry, I smudged your signature. Can you, like, do it? And also, again, there's no reason to say he wouldn't have, but I was also afraid, like, please don't make me pay for it again. But no. So, Malin said I looked visibly upset, and she's like, that's how I knew it was pretty bad, because you actually look upset. So she's like, I know when you're actually expressing emotions, that means that it's pretty bad. I'm like, yeah, that's fair. But, that's my medication alarm, which I'll take that in a little bit. But so, Mallory walked back with the case, and she, like, went to ask him to go, go and, like, you know, fix it. And it sounded, like, funny that she said, like, he's like, oh no, we have to save it. So he was, like, you know, pretend he was doing CPR on it, and then that's how he did it. He rewrote the thing, and then he, like, drew, like, a little, it's hard to see, but he, like, drew a little tiny dragon on where it's smeared. So, now it's a super special, signature, because it looks different than everyone else's, because he had to fix the smear on it, because I smeared it with my hands. So, it was just very cool, and it's just like, again, that's the thing, it's like, he was just really nice, clearly very excited about, like, the role he had to play in his games, and very excited to interact with people. Because then, like, the other time, like, you know, one of the things that we talked about, like, over there, and I was like, you know, he's like, you know, he's like, why don't I, it's like, my character doesn't have enough merch, like, I don't get to be on covers, I don't get to be on the artwork, they just do all the other cool characters. And I'm like, no, you're like, your character does need more stuff. And I was like, you know, I'm like, they all have all those other things in plushies. I'm like, we need to have, like, a little Don Hung plushie. He's like, yes, he needs to have, like, a little cute dragon plushie so he can be adorable. And I'm like, and I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, that is my new goal. I'm gonna make a little Don Hung's dragon form plushie. And if I ever see him in a con again, I'm gonna give it to him. Like, I made you into a plushie. But, like, you know, it's, again, I told man, I'm like, man, it's so, human decency is addicting, isn't it? Nice when you just, like, talk to someone else and be, I mean, that's kind of the reason we go to cons in the first place, never mind voice actors, but, like, cons in general is, like, you go to be like, I love this thing, you love this thing, we're both probably have an unhealthy, like, obsession with it, let's do this together, like, exactly, that's why I want to go up and be like, I don't know if you remember or not, but I made you into a plushie. Cause I think I could do it. Because it'd be unlike with Zhongli where I don't like know what his dragon form looks like. It's like his dragon form is very obvious. Like it's in his attack animation. It's pretty easy to reference. I have a lot of pictures of it. Not to mention I'm getting like I ordered like a full like if I had it I would have had him sign it, but it's not coming yet. Like I have a full on like figure. Like it's probably of like Don Hung and his like with his dragon, like his water dragon, like in it was one that I sat on for a while, but eventually I'm like, nah, I love this character so much, I have to get it. So it's gonna take a while to come out. I don't know, it was supposed to be 2025 and I ordered it in like 2023. So like it's been a while to make it. Like it's gonna take a while for it to get here, but I'm like I'm excited for it to be here. But like it already has a figure, so I'm like it would not be as like when I was doing the one for like Zhongli, I was kind of like guessing at what colors. Like I was looking at his outfit and then being like, okay, let me see how I can match these with yarn, and then let me see how I can match them in a dragon. But I'm like, I don't know what his dragon form actually looks like because I've not actually played that far in the game. I don't even know if it is in the game, to be entirely. I assume it's in the game somewhere because everyone references it in fanfics, and like people don't generally reference something like uniformly. Like people have like their headcanons, but people don't tend to reference something uniformly in fanfics unless like it's something that actually exists to some degree. That's actually how like the most popular ships happen. Like a very popular ship, like even if whether you think that it's romantic or not, it has to have some evidence that like to why people are shipping it. Like, you know, usually you're looking for like a ship clue almost. Like what was the moment that caused everyone to be like, yes, these characters go together. Regardless of whether they are or not, like in Pokemon Masters, like people started shipping like Kabu and Larry just because like in that event they're like, oh, these like two elderly men like have a really actually very close relationship even though they're like polar opposites, and like, you know, that became a ship just because of like that one interaction they had in the gacha game. But like that's usually how ships starts. Like usually they have evidence somewhere, and it's like I know Zhongli probably has a dragon form in the game somewhere. I know he's definitely a dragon, that much is obvious by his design alone. If not from like his name, his backstories, lots of things. There's so many things that are just like screaming dragon about his outfit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But doing like for Don Hung would not be as hard. And I could actually go two different ways with it, because I could do, on one hand I could do like the water dragon like that he summons for his attacks. Or I could do like a water themed dragon like him, because that's like, you know, based off his color scheme. which I think would probably look a lot like Haku from, like, you know, Spirited Away, because his color scheme is, like, white, teal, and dark green. So I think, like, I could also do it like that, but I'm like, that's why I want to go up to him and I might be like, you might not remember it. We talked, like, to be fair, I talked to him, like, 4 times over the course of the day. Like, the coolest thing for me was that, like, I talked to him, like, 4 times throughout the course of the day. Just, you know, to go there and then go back and to get things fixed, or I forgot something. So I went to talk to him, like, 4 times. So, like, when he was leaving, since he has to walk, like, since everyone had to walk past our aisle, he actually said bye to me on the way out. I was made me so happy. Just because, like, cause he was walking out and he saw our booth there and he waved and said bye. And Madeline was actually looking at her phone at the time, so she didn't see it. She's like, no, I missed him. Like, I was like, bye. Cause I also told him I really liked his jacket. He had a really cool, like Letterman jacket on, but it was, like, themed after his character. I'm like, if you bought that at a store somewhere, please tell me where, because I want that. I want to be able to wear that. He's like, no, a fan made it for me. Like, they sewed it and everything. Like, that is very cool. But, okay, I gotta count for a minute again. Wait, no. Did I already do the increases? No, I didn't. Okay, never mind. I don't have to count yet. I have to do the increases first. So it was just a super cool thing, and it was just like, again, he can't be older than Malin is. Like, I definitely think he's younger than I am. I'm like, he can't be older than Malin is. So it's like, he just seems like so thrilled to just be there. And I like latch onto that energy because also I am also thrilled to just be there and be like, man, dude, you just... So I, like, was playing Star Rail, like, the other day, and, like, you know, obviously his character, like, Donner's the character I use a lot. So, like, listening to his... It's funny listening because his character is very stoic. So, like, you know, and he kind of has this, like, slow, measured way of speaking that's almost kind of quiet and whispery. But, like, it's so funny to, like, listen to that and then listen to the guy talk who's, like, again, very energetic, very, like, has, a lot of volume. And then listen to him do this character. I'm like, yeah, I can tell it's the same person, but I'm like, man, it's like, voice actors just amaze me sometimes. How, like, you know, like, I was talking to Madeline about this, like, you know, we're, like, for instance, like, I watched a video that had, like, Brian Deckard, who's, like, the person who does Connor in Detroit Become Human. And when, you know, obviously when they're playing a character, it's different. Like, when he's playing, like, he can pretty much play the character because it's motion capture, so he can pretty much just put on an outfit and play the character because it's, you know, pretty much him anyway. But, like, when you listen to him talking naturally, he has a lot of intonation that Connor has. Like, he just talks like him. Like, clearly just, like, sometimes you go and you play a character. He almost was, like, not necessarily playing himself, but he was just, like, a lot of it is just talking like he does talk normally. So, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, okay? So, like, you listen to him talk, like, on stream, or, like, he did a video with Jacksepticeye I watched, which was, you know, pretty cool, and he literally just sounds like Connor. Like, he just talks like him. But then you have other voice actors who, like, will talk a certain way, but their character sounds entirely different. Like, Barry Cumberbatch is one of those people that, like, you hear him talk in one way, and then you hear him talk another way. Or, like, David Tennant, like, you hear him with his natural accent versus when he's not doing his natural accent. And it's, like, so different. And voice actors are like that, too, where you listen to them. Like, Matt Mercer is an interesting one, because you can usually tell when a character is Matt Mercer. But, like, you know, you listen to him be like... You, like, listen, like, is that person? Oh my gosh, it is! And, like, there's another character... There's another, like, Xander Mobius is another one that, like... He, like... The fact that you can get, like, the range from, like, you know, I've said before, like, the announcer in, like, Super Smash Bros. To, like, the conductor in A Hat in Time, who's, like, incredibly Scottish. And, like, how are both those voices coming from the same man? Like, it's just impressive sometimes, like, voice actors, what they can do, like, with their voices, like, how they can become so many different, like, people. And again, the reason I find this interesting is because I have no voice acting talents. I apologize, I think, every single time I play D&D. And people are like, okay, wait, who's talking right now? I'm like, sorry guys, I know I have only one... I try to change with my word choice. Like I would if I was, like, as a writer. The way you tell, like, the difference between characters is word choice, their tone, you know, stuff like that. So I try and be like, okay, this character speaks a certain way. I'm like, I can't do accents. I'm not very good at shifting my voice. And what you hear is what you get. you know, that's why, like, whenever, like, we were playing games and Madeleine's like, you do a voice. I'm like, Madeline, I have one voice. I can do my voice, but if I do my voice, I can do it for one character, because otherwise it's just going to sound like me the whole time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But, like, I can't do voices. So that's why I guess I'm just in awe. I do the same thing when I see, like, people acting and be like, man, the expressiveness on your face is so good. I look at my face in the mirror and wonder why it's not moving, you know, like, when I'm trying to emote. Like, I feel like I'm looking at an alien. But, like, that's why, like, voice acting just is, like, something that I'm like, sometimes I just want, like, see, like, I love seeing the behind the scenes where you can see someone, like, voice acting in a booth. And, like, you know, usually they're very expressive with their bodies as well. But it's just so interesting to see how, like, you know, be like, how does that voice come from that person when they naturally do not sound that way at all? So he wasn't necessarily like that where, like, it didn't sound like the character, but it was more like he himself was very energetic as a person. So the fact that, like, his character that he was here to, like, you know, sign for, that everyone, like, was here because we love this character, is that, like, is a very deadpan character. So it just kind of was funny to be like, you're playing this character who's, like, very, like, stoic and stuff, and, like, he's not an emotional character, just, like, you know, he's stoic. But, he's just kind of, like, keeping himself restrained most of the time, and so, like, when he really feels like it, he definitely, I also like him because he's a character that, like, he's quiet, but, like, when he can get very sassy sometimes, especially when it comes to dealing with, like, March 7th, who's your, like, kind of more reckless, let's go and break all the rules sort of characters, and he's, like, essentially the babysitter half the time. So I like this character can get pretty sassy at times. It reminds me of a duo from Ruby, Ren and Nora. They have the exact same dynamic, and I also really love that in Ruby, so it's kind of cool to see. But, it's funny to see, like, wow, I can't believe that this is, like, you know, this character, like, comes from this person who's very expressive. So, long story short, Nicholas, I think, Ling? I don't remember how you pronounce his last name. I think it's Lung. But, like, very cool dude. If you get a chance to meet him, he was very cool. And I would definitely, like I said, my goal now is to meet him in another con and give him a little plushie. You know? That's the new goal. Also to get the Trailblazers voice actors to sign my cover. Because, he gave me the idea. He's like, you should, like, if you ever get the other two to sign, I'm like, that would be so cool. I could get them all to sign my cover. And I would never, and it's not like I would go and, like, sell it. I'm like, nope. And I put it in a glass box and never touch it again. But, like, now I'm like, this is now my most prized possession. Because not only did he sign my cover, I messed it up and he fixed it, which was, like, going the extra mile, dude. After I went and talked to you for a while, thank you for not only signing my cover, but then fixing it when I was a dummy and screwed it up. That's, like, you know, and, like, again, I was pretty sure he would fix it. I asked because, again, he was very nice, but I just felt embarrassed. I'm gonna be like, sorry, I know it's been, like, 5 minutes, but I already messed it up. So, that was the highlight for my day. I, like, you know, and then I went and posted on my Instagram and be like, hey, this guy signed I know this is my crochet channel, but this guy signed my cover, and I want the entire world to know. Because he also told me, he's like, this is the first time anyone's asked me to sign the game before. I'm like, cool, I'm a first. Nice. But, not surprising. I mean, the game like came out so long ago, and I don't know how many people actually bought it. I bought it because I wanted to support the game. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, please, continue making this game of high quality, and, you know, good stuff. That's why I'm like, even if Genshin Impact, even if Star Rail, like, gets, like, lower in quality over time, I've had such fun with the beginning parts of the game, that I'm like, yeah, you know, even if it gets worse from here on out, I don't really care, because, like, the experience up until this point in the game has been, like, as good as games I've bought for, like, $60. So, like, honestly, I've already got my money's worth out of it, and I didn't pay anything to start. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But that's what I'm telling you, like, gacha games where you, like, okay, like, you know, get the next hot lady or get the next meta unit, like, that will hold you for a while, but after a point you're gonna be like, and then you're just, you know, or you'll get, like, whatever your favorite character, but, like, getting a character that, like, you have an emotional connection to, you're way more willing to spend money on that. Like, when you have an emotional connection to the character, that's when you're willing to spend the big bucks on it. Like, sure, you always got the people who are going to be the sex sells people, who are, like, you know, which is clearly what Genshin Impact's doing right now. I saw their leak for this next, like, cow lady, and I'm like, What is with all the gacha games right now doing cow ladies? Like, Fire Emblem Heroes did that. You know, Genshin Impact's doing that. What is with the cow ladies? And like, they're not even... At least Fire Emblem's was kind of tastefully done. The one that I saw like leaked for Genshin Impact, I'm like, who wants this? Why does this exist right now? She's their plus-size character when really it's like, okay, she has slightly thicker thighs. You're wearing a plus-size character with be thicker around the waist. And like the chest and like the arms. Not just thicker thighs, right? As plus-size people. I'm not a plus-size person anymore. I lost a lot of weight for unknown health reasons, but like, people who want to see them is like, Mei from Overwatch is a plus-size character that's legitimately a plus-size character. Or Lady Dimitrescu is a plus-size character because she's wide in all locations, not just her hips and her chest. Like, all around. Like, you're gonna make that, then, you know, commit to it. But apparently that's just kind of been an issue with the Notland update in general for Genshin Impact. There's a lot of things where people are like, why is this like this? Like, I didn't even notice it was apparently supposed to be based off of Africa because they have, like, a lot of very pale characters for this apparently, like, you know, hot region. I'm like, shouldn't any of you be more tan? Slash, like, just straight up darker skins? Like, why are you all so pale? Like, it's a weird thing that I'm like, I don't know what the heck that... Also, then again, like, the people who, like, not Genshin developers, the Hoyoverse people got dragged through, like, the mud on, like, when they were asking, like, why aren't you rerunning any of the new... Why aren't you rerunning any of the male characters? But also, two, why have we not had any 5-star male characters? There's one 5-star male character in all of Notland. There's, like, 8 characters released total. Like, I think, because there's the one shark lady, the one tiny lady, the one DJ girl, the other lady, the lady with the giant gun. And, like, there's a handful of, like, 4-star units. But obviously the 4-star units are not the ones you're trying to do because they're not as powerful as 5-star units. They're not exclusive. So, like, there's a 4-star, like, there's a 4-star guy that was released. But, like, 5-star ones are the premier units. And, like, there's, like, of the 10, like, Notland characters, there's one that is male. And so they were asked about that in an interview, and they're like, oh, well, the male characters don't sell as well. And I'm like... So there was, like, this, like, thing that was being passed around, like, on Twitter and stuff like that, where there was, like, a poll about, like, the best-selling characters of all time in Genshin Impact. And, yeah. The top 5 were mostly males. In all 10, 3 of them were female. So it's like, oh, they're like, based on our numbers, we found that actually the male characters don't sell as well as the female characters. So that's why we haven't released as many male characters lately in Genshin Impact. And someone's like, actually, based on the data that you collected from this poll you released earlier in the year, it seems like actually that the male characters sell very well, because like the top like in the top like 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like number 3 was like Nouvellette, and then like in the top 10 there was like, it had like Wriothesley, Zhongli, Alhaitham, like, who was the other guy? Gosh. There's another guy. I know Furina and Raiden Shogun was 10. I think Furina was 2. I think Nahida might have been in it there. I feel like there was one other guy though. Who was the other guy? I should just look it up, but I don't feel like doing that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Point is, there was another guy. And so, like, they're like, oh, you know, like, our top 10, like, highest selling characters of all time. And over half of them are men. Maybe it was Wriothesley. I don't even know if I say his name right, but they're French, so who knows. But, like, it was like, yeah, so the whole, so they got clowned on so much for that comment, just because of the fact that people were like, no, actually, you've shown us that the male characters are actually the ones that are the most popular. Like, people love female characters, and I have nothing against female characters. I love a lot of female characters. I love me a very pretty female character, especially. There's definitely a handful of them I got in just, like, purely because, like, I'm like, oh, that character looks nice. But, like, you know, obviously I like male characters too a lot, but, like, I definitely have a lot, like, Fire Emblem Heroes, there was, like, a lot of them where, like, I didn't got a lot of male characters, man, I got a lot of female characters. Like, for a while, my favorite was Brave Camilla, just because I'm like, man, now that is a good outfit. Like, that's a character that is, like, you know, feminine. Like, I like Camilla when in her natural state in terms of, like, actually in the Fates games, not in the way she kind of just got flanderized in every appearance after that. In her original game, I like the fact that she's one of those characters that, like, yeah, you know, she's well endowed, she has, like, you know, kind of a sexualized outfit, but the whole point is that that was her choice. She wants to look like that, and she's not flirting with people. She, like, you know, she has a bit of a mothering complex because, you know, trauma, but, like, she, like, people who are hitting on her, she's like, oh, okay, that's cute, would you like to meet the sharp side of my axe? Like, she's not interested in flirting people, she's not interested in getting people, like, she's pretty like that, and, like, you know, has the revealing outfit because she chooses to. It's, like, her empowerment type of thing. I mean, you say the same thing for a character like Bayonetta, you know, like, they choose to look like this because they look good, and they like looking good. And I'm like, I like female characters that are like that. So, like, I'm down for, like, you know, powerful female characters and stuff like that, but, like, it's just kind of dumb where, like, everything about Notland, from what I've watched, from character reactions to, like, you know, trailers, to the company's behaviors, to the fandom's behavior, everything about Notland seems to be a flop. Like, apparently the story was good, but then again, it wasn't about that. It's about, like, the one male guy, Capitano, who isn't even a playable character. Apparently his story was interesting or something like that, but, like, everything about Notland in general seemed to be a flop, because, like, everything I've seen about it so far has been kind of like, why is this a thing? You know? Why do we have this? Or, like, you know, they're like, the current Archon, they're like, okay, she's fine, but she has, like, no flaws. When, you know, after we literally did the other 5 gods before this have, like, a very distinct flaw, and it's what made them interesting and human. She's like, oh yeah, she kind of just, she's a good leader, and she fights, and just kind of is good all around. I'm like, so, you know, did she have to learn anything? No, she was pretty good the whole time. And she saved everyone. You're like, yep. And she doesn't lose anything that has to do with her being an Archon like all the rest of them did. And you're like, nope. And you're like, oh. Yeah, that sounds boring. Especially when, again, compared to the other Archons that you've had up to this point, who are all, again, kind of in, like, the typical, like, Greek god sort of archetype, where, like, they're all very flawed individuals. They all have their very human sides to them. And that's what makes them relatable, you know? Like, people don't like... at least I assume. People don't love, like, someone like Zhongli and stuff like that because he's perfect. In fact, it's that the fact of, like, you know, someone who's so old, so powerful, so wise, but yet at the same time has some very human flaws. And namely, it's just, like, kind of the opposition to, like, Venti, who's too carefree. He's, like, he's you know, he's an Earth Dragon, so, like, he doesn't quite get how humans work, and it's taken him, like, 6,000 years to kind of get a vague idea of it, and even then, he still really doesn't get it. But that's just because, again, different species, and is trying to understand and appreciate humans, but, like, at the same time, is also like, you guys are weird. Like, fair. So, like, but that's the thing you like about the characters, like, you're like, how they're, like, you know, in spite of that kind of barrier and that gap, still trying to find the humanity, so in spite of the fact that he still doesn't quite understand humans, like, he still, like, deeply cares for, like, his region, his people, and likes to see them, like, grow. And you know, I know the basics of his character quest. I don't know all the finer details, but I know the basics of, like, his character quest. I'm like, yeah, I hate whenever someone says, like, he abandons his region at the end. I'm like, no, it's like, he saw that they outgrew him, and he's like, if you guys, essentially it's like having training wheels. It's like, as long as this, like, safeguard is here, you will never truly ascend to the greatness you are capable of. So I'm just taking myself out of the picture, and also, it's been their god for 6,000 years at that point, like, or however many thousand years he had been their god at that point. He's always on high apart from people, and his biggest, like, issue is, like, you know, war trauma, and, like, the fact that, like, you know, he's the last one left in a lot of, like, his friend circles. So clearly his biggest fear is like loss and like losing someone or like losing the memory of someone, because once the memory is gone, that person is completely gone forever. Like clearly has some sort of like loss. Like definitely I'd say probably, if I had to guess, his probably biggest fear is fear of loss. And like, you know, how painful that can be. You truly have, what is it they say in the good quote they have from WandaVision, and it's like, what is grief but the sign that love endures, you know? But he's a grieving person, that's for sure. But like, what makes the character like good in that regards, like the fact like, oh yeah, I just didn't want to be alone anymore. Just living on high above all the people. I want to be among the people. I want to see them live their lives and enjoy the simple moments, and you know, not look on from like 1,000 years past. Like the fact that anyone goes, that's why I remember I was talking about, like the fact that anyone goes on and be like I don't know, again, there might be some extra details I just don't know because I don't know the full quest. I know the basics of how the quest runs, kind of like how I knew how Venti's quest went, even though I didn't know all the basics. And although, to be fair, even after playing the quest, I'm like, wow, a lot of those details did not get filled in because this quest is very bare. But I don't know if there's any extra details that will be revealed in his quest in particular, but like Liyue's plotline. But like, from the vibe of my thing, from what I got of, like, originally I remember hearing the storyline, I'm like, oh, that feels kind of sad, and I was like looking at it from the other angle, I'm like, no, actually it really makes sense, because the whole idea is like they're being like, oh yeah, he just like kind of pieced out and abandoned his region to go and like go into retirement. I'm like, no, like from what it sounds like his nation's powerful, they're rich, they're well off, and they're growing, and they're, you know, time is changing, traditions are changing. He's watching them grow and essentially being like, you know, like, yeah, you're holding on, like, essentially from the vibe, like, he's like, they're like, they always had, like, him to, like, safeguard them and point them in the right direction, so he's like, I think you guys have outgrown the need for me, so I'm going to step back and let you guys grow on your own. But then, you know, before that, making sure that they actually can handle that on their own. And so, like, they, you know, does a test, and it doesn't have to be fair, it doesn't have to be nice. Again, this is a character that isn't human, so it doesn't have to technically conform to human rules. I feel like if you're going to do a different race of like, in a game, this is the thing that, again, I've mentioned before, kind of bothers me a little bit, is like, there'll be like just random cat girls, or like I've said in Genshin, there's just a random cowgirl coming up, like a literal girl that is a cow. Like, if you're going to have different races, I feel like you have to, like, do that for a reason. Like, I brought before in Star Rail that they have like the Foxian race, which are the fox people, but they have a distinctly different culture than like the humans. And even then in Star Rail, because you know you're across different planets, so there's humans, they're all humans, but like humans from one world might operate differently than humans from another world. So like at the end of the day, they are all called at the end, you know, as a race, a human, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're all the same. They're more referred to by the planet they came from. You know? And they each have their different cultures and stuff like that, and that, you know, my part, for instance, when you get to, like, Adventurian storyline, there's a big thing about, like, the planet he comes from, there's a big stigma against it, so he kind of gets treated with a lot of racism throughout his entire storyline. So you kind of have to be like, dang, that kind of sucks, bro. But, like, I like the fact that there is, like, that, you know, there are culture shocks of, like, you know, when you meet someone, like, you know, in the gameplay where you go and be like, you have someone who, like, travels around, you know, different planets, like we travel on planes to go to different countries, and then they meet someone who's from, like, a world that, like, never established spacefaring travel, so they never even realized what their planet looked like from the outside. So the fact that they meet someone who's like, oh yeah, like, you know, I travel to other planets on the daily, and they're like, oh my gosh, really? That sounds so cool. And they're like, oh yeah, you know, I imagine it'd be like if we went now, like, with airplanes and stuff like that, with someone, like, you know, like 50 years ago, and be like, oh yeah, the internet exists. It's crazy, you know. It's interesting to think about at the very least. So I kind of like that you have those sort of things. So that's the biggest thing I kind of like look at with Genshin, where I'm like, I don't know, maybe I just missed those areas, but like whenever they have like just random cat girl well, like the one that I bring up the most is like Tainuri's a fox person. There's like a long name. It's like Luca Shuna or something like that. Like there's a race that he's part of, But the bigger thing is that, like, as far as I can tell, at least from all the, like, because I watched a lot of, like, clips and cutscenes from Sumeru. So I didn't, like, watch his, like, I didn't watch a lot of the art conquest, but I actually watched, like, a lot of the character interactions. And, like, from what I can tell, there aren't, like, a lot of other, like, characters like him just walking around. Like, there aren't a lot of other, like, fox people just walking around. So I'm like, we are supposed to know, like, what, obviously, you know, he's a fox, so, like, he has better hearing than a lot of people and stuff like that, but, like, you're like, okay, but how does this make you different? Like, in the Star Wars, they have, like, the, you know, they have their one Foxian race, and the idea is that they're seafarers. They're all, like, you know, they're warrior ship, so all of them are, like, natural, like, a militarized race, so they all were, like, essentially raised to, like, become pilots. So they're all, like, natural pilots. And a lot of their population was killed in a war, so a lot of them were, like, war veterans. And, like, there's a whole thing about, like, you know, they aren't born with tails, they get a tail later on. And so, like, you know, there's a stigma against whether you have your tail or not, you know? Like, that's kind of, like, going into a little bit of Kitsune lore there. And, you know, I like that sort of things, and so... And, like, they have, like, they can live a maximum of 700 years, not a year more. That's, like... So, like, a lot of them, again, do die in battle because they know they have a set lifespan. So a lot of them like to go out in kind of like a blaze of glory sort of thing because they know that at least they can have, like, a bombastic end, and then, like, they have kind of a Norse mythology, like, ceremony for, like, their dead. They send them off in ships into the stars so they can continue to, you know, sea voyage even when they're dead. And, like, you know, there's like a lot of lore and culture behind like, this fox race. So even if you encounter, like, a Foxian character not in their home world, you already know kind of a baseline of where the character's coming from because you know that kind of culture that comes with that particular race. And that's the biggest thing that I'm, like, when I'm looking at, like, and I don't know, maybe they do have an Genshin and I just missed it. That's the biggest thing that bothers me about it. I like it as an open world game. Like, I have mentioned before, like, in my, like, gaming journals when I'm playing the game. Because I keep a gaming journal. Like, I really like the open world elements as far as it can be very relaxing, actually, at times. It can be very relaxing to go and, just, like, play it. Okay, sorry, I gotta count for this one. 1... Decrease... Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Four. Because that's the biggest issue with an open world game is that, like, there are things that I just, like, there can be lore stuff, like, if you're in a linear game, there's only so many places you, like, you can have, like, free exploration, but, like, at the end of the day, the walls are where they are. There are only so many places you go. You might have to, like, in order to get sort of, like, lore stuff, you might have to explore a bit, you might have to talk to characters. But, like, you know, the route only goes one way. Like, in Pokemon, like, you can stop in the houses and you can talk to people and you can get certain, like, lore bets depending on whether you, like, who you talk to. But the route, but it will only ever go one way. You know, like, it will always be, like, you know, this will always be here, this will always be an option. But, like, it only ever goes in one direction. As opposed to an open world game means that, like, you know, that's the big thing that, like, Pokemon struggle with as a Scarlet and Violet as an open world game is that open world game where you could literally go in nowhere. Like, it was literally, you couldn't talk to NPCs. There was no, like, villages or houses or things you could talk to in the cities. So it felt so empty as a game, personally playing it. It made it really boring, actually, because you could do a little world building with, like, you know, the structures, but again, they did a lot of, there was a lot of, like, really badly done textures on things. I'm like, if you can't talk to, like, NPCs, you can't go into buildings, like, what do you have left to tell the story? Why are you doing an open world game, then? Because open world games, their strength they have is their storytelling through their environment. This is something that, like, you know, Sonic Frontiers or Legends Arceus does well. I'm assuming Breath of the Wild does too, but I've never played Breath of the Wild, but everyone talks about it really well, is environmental storytelling. And I think, like, any of those, like, games, like, that's a good thing, but, like, the thing that I just kind of run into sometimes a snag a bit, and it's because it's a gacha game, is Genshin Impact, is that I constantly feel like I'm missing things. Like, I either missed, like, the biggest thing I'm trying not to think about too much as I'm playing through the games is that I missed a lot of events. And I've said this before, and other people even in the fandom agree that this is a really egregious mistake that they really need to do something about at some point, because it's kind of stupid that they didn't. But, is that they... Okay, I have to switch over, I believe. Okay. I got her beak now. But they, I think I'll make her beak and they'll probably call it for tonight, because I noticed that I'm looking at the time. I think I'll do her beak and then we'll call it for tonight. So I already did her head and her arms, so really all I'll have to do is the body tomorrow, which won't take very long. But, I think I do this one, yeah, no, I do this in Magic Ring, alright. But, is that the events that were done in Genshin Impact are temporary, and they don't rerun, is the bigger issue. Is that, like, Pokemon Masters is like a game that did a lot of events early on, but while, like, the first, like, 2 years, they were all original events, but then, like, in, like, the 3, 4, 5 year of anniversaries, they would rerun the events, so if you missed them the first time around, you could get them again. Which is a smart thing to do, because then when you bring in new players who want to fall in love with your world, and they're starting at level 1 in story chapter 1, then they can go and be like, oh, well, here's this character event. The biggest issue, like, for instance, like, they're running all these Notland events. I don't have access to that because I'm in a very early part of the game. So these events are cool. I can't access them, though, because I can't get to that part of the game yet. I'm in the beginning of the game. So, like, I think it's for me at least, personally, it's very hard to play Genshin Impact where it is, because it's kind of hard to start at the beginning. Especially if you care at all about the story, because you just have missed so much at this point. Like I remember I was reading a post on Hoyo Lab that was talking about, like, how many different character, like, someone was just, like, marking down how many different character details like, players just going to completely miss because, like, they were in temporary events. Like, I know there's a lot of, like, different, like, Lantern Rite is one thing that they do yearly, but they said, like, there are a lot of, like, character moments in those that will, since they're not rerun, people will completely miss. Apparently there's, like, one event that has, like, Albedo in it or something like that talks about, like, some major, like, character thing about him is in one of the events. But, you know, it was a temporary event, so you'll never see it again. And, like, there was another one from Inazuma, I think they said that there was, like, one, like, temporary event where they're, like, you know, people will never see that because it was a temporary event, so they'll never know this character had this certain, like, secret, or they'll be like, hey, this character, we actually revealed that they have, like, or they'll have, like, a meaningful interaction, like, with a different character, but that only happens in the event. So if you don't rerun those events, and you're only left with whatever the base game has in the base chapters, it means you're kind of missing stuff. Which is, again, doesn't matter if you're doing a, like, game that does not have a, like, chronological storyline. If you're doing one that's just, like, for instance, Pokemon, like, Masters is just, like, it's a tournament. It's a tournament arc. You know, characters come and go as they please, but since the characters are coming and going as they please, you can add new characters in, you can take them out, you can have them interact, and while there is, like, a continuity, there is not a chronological storyline that things have to happen in order. So it doesn't matter, but, like, the vibe I get with Genshin Impact from what I've seen is that they have a chronological story. So you're just having huge gaps in the story because these events don't rerun. So you just, if you're playing a game later, like, if you're, like, someone like me, or even other people who, like, oh, hey, that Genshin Impact game is so popular, everyone loves it, let me go try it, or, ooh, look at these new characters, I want to try them. You try and get into the game, you're gonna miss, like, 40% of the content at this point, because it was all temporary and it never reran. Oh, excuse me, I just seen your comment. It reminds me when a friend of mine tried to get me into Destiny 2. It's already been live for a couple years, and so I missed everything that happened, and so I was so lost in what was going on. I'm like, why should I? Yeah, that's essentially. It sounds like that's the same problem Genshin Impact has. again, I don't know personally, but I know from like reading people, that's the thing. I've been in the fandom for years. I just only started playing the game recently, so I've heard people talk about it, and that's the biggest thing they have an issue with. Is that they're like, well, and the only reason it frustrates me, a lot of other people for Genshin Impact, is because Star Rail doesn't do this. Star Rail archives its events. When the event is over, it's put into an archive, so that if you are not at the proper rank to challenge that event, or theirs is also a chronological storyline, so in order to do certain events, you have to have completed certain story missions. You can force it for it, but they'll be warning, if you do this, you might see major spoilers. But if you haven't gotten to that point in the story yet, it'll go into an archive, and you can play it later. Which is, again, great. And I'm they're like, oh, the file size would be too big for Genshin Impact. I'm like, but then, why not put, an update in that, as soon as you're done with the event, you can remove the files. And the thing is that people are saying, they don't even want, when you're doing the event, the idea of why you do a temporary event is so that people play it then, so your numbers go up, and then you can get, temporary rewards. But, what Star Rail does is, if you play the event when it first airs, you get, I was doing, a thing called the Divergent Universe, and you do it when it airs, then you get a special degree of events. You get more currency, maybe you'll get a special, light cone, which is weapon, and, you might get other, bonuses. But if you play the event later, you'll still get, the standard affair of, bonuses. But at least you can play the event and you know the story now. Because Star Rail especially has a very strong storyline, and very much is a chronologically told story. Again, it's very JRPG in the fact that the story matters, the character growth matters, knowing where the characters are in the story matters. Because then, it's not just oh, this person got a power-up and we never mentioned it. That's the thing I also like about, when you go and figure out, Don Hung has, a secondary form that's much more powerful. It's not he does that once in a storyline and you never see it again. No, they reference it later because now you know about it. So now he's, less, essentially shy about using it. So, if the moment really calls for it, he'll do that. He just doesn't prefer to because, there's reasons why he doesn't like, using that power. But, it's not it's suddenly it's oh, we're never going to do that again. In other characters, oh, this character we met at some point and we didn't end on good terms. And so, when you meet them later, there's one character, one of the ones, I mentioned before, Dr. Ishu technically appeared in so did Topaz, in a temporary event. So you archive the event, so you can go back to it later because that character appears later on in the story, so that way you know where that character is. Now, granted, you still have to do the story. If you don't do the story, you can't skip around it, then you'll... I did that by accident. I accidentally did some story missions out of order, so I was like, who the heck is that person? And I went back and did the story mission. I'm oh, they were introduced here, and I just did not pay attention. That's also why Star Rail introduced the timeline feature, so you could tell where the quests go, because... so helpful, because then I'm trying to do all these side character quests, and I'm okay, this is the order in line that they go in, so if you want to go in chronological order, do them in this order so that the story makes sense, or if you don't care, then do them in what order ever you care. But I like the fact that if you don't want to get confused, here's a roadmap. But I'm it's just, that's the biggest thing that frustrates me between Genshin Impact and Star Rail, is the fact that there are regardless of the quality of the game, whether you like turn-based combat, whether you like open world combat, whether you like this game or that game, you like a lost story or a little story, it's the quality of life things that get me. Is that a simple thing they archive the old events. The fact that they give out a lot of currency in the beginning of the game to get you started and help you get, to motivate you to keep playing. The fact that they go and give you actually good starter characters, the free-to-play characters are actually still playable, they're not just utter trash, the auto battle system, which, mind you, the auto battle, people make, people kind of joke and raise up not raise up, they kind of mess around with the fact that, Star Rail has, in Genshin Impact, you actually have to pay attention, Star Rail has an auto battle system, yeah, but the auto battle system is only for, you can use auto battle at any time, but it's really just, you can only use it for, replaying events. So, namely, the place where people use it is for grinding. So, if you have to get, 40 of an item in order to upgrade a character, Do you really want to fight 40 random scrub enemies in order to get that item? That was honestly the thing that was frustrating me the other day. I was like looking at the domains for like Genshin Impact because I just realized what those were because it was never explained in a tutorial, so I did not realize that was where you went to go and get character materials, and I went in there and I'm like, so you just go and fight things for like 6 minutes and you get like 6 materials out of that? No wonder people only build one character at a time. That would just drive me insane. Having to grind up, like, I'll do it. I play during RPGs. I know what grinding is, but I'm like, it's still just kind of it's still just kind of frustrating. Okay, so that's done. It's just kind of frustrating when you have to, like, no... grinding is a necessary evil half the time. But no one likes grinding. If they had an option to, no one would do grinding. Because it's not a lot of fun. Because it's like, you use it literally just to level up your characters, literally just to get them stronger, and, you know, like... to progress the game forward. Oh, and there's the bot. The bot's been showing up pretty late in the stream lately. So late to the party. But they having an autobound option in Star Rail I really just love for the fact that like it helps you build your characters faster, and so you can go and get back into the story mode. And so, like, you know, it isn't just, like, you know, based on, like, oh, we have this one thing or the other. And it's like, no, I like the fact that it's... Came out again. I like the fact that, like, you know, if I need, like, 50 currency in order to, like, upgrade my one character's talent, I don't have to spend 50 minutes going and thinking about every move. I can put on the auto battle, and granted, you still do have to have, you know, strong enough characters to auto battle. So, you know, if you're challenging something that's above your level, then obviously that's not going to do you any good, but... You can also get, like, a support character, so, like, you... Like, the thing I did in the early game is, like, go and make friends with, like, any other player who has, like, a level 80 character. And then, like, it won't matter, like, if it's type effective or not, just, like, go and have them do your auto battle for you. And then that's the best way to grind materials. And, like, you know, you can... I love putting Star Rail on in auto battle, and, just playing my other gacha games while it's auto battling. And then, that way I can get the materials I need, and I can actually, like... spend my time and energy on, like, the actual things I want to do, like the story quests, or the character challenges, or, like, the other challenge modes and stuff like that. Like, I don't have to actually go and, like... Grinding is a thing that no one ever enjoys doing, like, in any game. So the fact that they have an auto-battle thing so we can, you know, don't have to do the grinding is great. And I don't, like, you know, people joke about it in Star Rail, but, like, they're like, no one ever does it in, like, the way where they're like, oh, this is stupid. They're like, no, they're like, it's, you know, it's a fun thing to make fun of, but it's like, everyone's like, no, this is great. Why don't we, like, essentially just the quality of life features that they added into Star Rail are kind of one of those things where I'm like, okay, so this is working really well in your other game and has made it very popular. Why not go and put those improvements into your other game that is also right now a like, you know, $4 million, like, franchise? You know, like, people have been asking for a long, like, I remember for a while, like, you know, the rumors for, like, years have been, like, hey, they're gonna finally go back into Mondstadt and, like, improve it. You know, like, just update the dialogue and make it so it's not so sparse and boring. And, yeah, they keep saying they're gonna do that, and then they just don't, so... It's unfortunate. Because, again, that's, like, a lot of people are, that's why, it's like one of those TV shows where, like, well, just get through season 1 sucks, but once you get past season 1, it's really good, I promise. And you're like, so I have to waste how many hours before the game gets good? You know, in most JRPGs, after you've spent a couple hours and it's not fun, you choose a different game. Which, again, the gacha game is, at the end of the day, trying to sell its gambling system to you. So I'm like, if you're losing the players before they get through the prologue, you're not making any money. So you think it would be in their best interest to go in and, I don't know, make it so the first part of the game is more fun. That's the only reason I kind of harp on Genshin Impact. I'm like, you might be good later on, but the fact that your beginning experience was just very bland and boring, like, why? If you've gotten, like, better, then show it and just make just a little update here and there. How hard could that be? And again, low quality of life features, which to be fair, I will give points to Genshin Impact. Star Rail recently, like, in their last 2 updates, added some really nice new quality of life features, like, you know, a guide system, like a thing to give you, like, to help you, like, choose your relics, choose your light cones, teach you how to build characters. Genshin did add a similar system to theirs, so it is a little easier to, like, you know, navigate now. They also added some map updates that make the map a little easier to navigate. So they did add some quality of life features. It's just kind of one of those things where you're like, okay, this, like, we gave you a $5 bill, and you're like, cool, that's great, until you look at across the lane and be like, and here's Star Rail handing out, like, $50 bills. And you're like, okay, well, now this feels less great, because that one's doing more for the same reason. You know? So, I think one of these days I'm going to come on here and not rant about Genshin Impact. The only reason I do is because it just frustrates me sometimes. Because I do like the world and the characters. And so I want to play the game and immerse myself in the characters. But then it's like, you know, I've been part of the fandom which, like, you know, sees the best sides of these characters. And then you go into the canon and be like, oh, in the canon, they're actually flat and boring. Like, the biggest reason I've been stuck in Mondstadt this whole time is not because I've been stuck. It's because I've been afraid to go to Liyue. I'm afraid to go and find my guy, who I love so immensely. Like, he's definitely my favorite character in, like, Genshin Impact. I'm afraid to go into Liyue, and he be boring. I'm afraid for it to be like Venti, where I'm like, great character concept! Total waste of potential. Not very well utilized in the game. I'm afraid to go into the game and he'll be like that. I'll be like, aw. You're cool though. Why aren't you cool? Because in that case, I don't need to play the game. In that case, I don't, you know, I could just go and be like, I'll just continue reading fanfiction because they can be much better in that. And I'll then stop playing the game. But, like, you know, I want to play the game for the game. I want to enjoy the game. I keep saying that every time I keep playing that game. It's like, I do want to enjoy this. I promise, guys. Anyway, I promised I would stop after I finished the beak, and I have finished the beak, so that's what we're going to call it for now. And this is the point in the night where also my throat's getting a little sore, so I know it's probably about time to head to bed. But anyway, so we got a couple of things done. We got Chica's head, and we got her arms, and her, like, mouth, and her feet. So, we got pizzas of her. She's not quite done yet, but I'll work on her body later. I could stay up and work on her body, but I'm like, my throat's starting to get a little scratchy. I've gone into the stage in the night where I'm just ranting about Genshin Impact again, so, you know, clearly I've, you know, my brain's turned off. But anyway, highlights for tonight, I got new chair, I got new plushies. UsherCon was, you know, generally a very positive experience. I had a really great experience meeting, Don Hung's voice actor, and that made me super happy and stoked, and yeah. What coming up? So I will try and do, as usual, Tuesday is video game Nuzlocke stream day. Again, depending on my, like, energy levels. Because I was thinking about doing it tonight, but I'm like, no, I want to crochet tonight. If not Tuesday, then Wednesday. Tuesday or Wednesday. I will try and do it Tuesday, but if I'm not, if you come here at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night and I'm not live, it's probably going to be a Wednesday night, you know? I will do a Nuzlocke run, though, because I'm still working on that. I know I'm called a cozy gamer, so I need to play more video games, and just, right now it's hard, man. Right now the best I can do is crochet and talk about video games. But, and then I don't know for the rest of the week. Again, right now I'm in a class, so I have assignments, so I kind of, like, I don't have as much free time as I typically do. So I'll jump on when I'm able to. So really, that's a big reason why you should subscribe and follow the channel, because then that'll give you a notification when I go live. Because I don't always know when I'm going live, especially when I have a lot doing right now. So, very least Nuzlocke stream Tuesday or Wednesday. Maybe another crochet stream at some point later in the week. Strong maybe. I'm trying new medications this week, so we'll see how my energy levels are going. But if I'm just tired, then I'm just tired, and that will just. And then I might see you on the weekend, maybe. But thanks for everyone who stopped by, everyone who chatted, anyone who lurked, who listened, and just hung out with me. I had a good time. I got some stuff done, and I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me as well. And new people who may have, like, joined to hang out. since like our show. It's been a good time tonight. So, yeah. Good night, all.